Chapter 3047. He's not even 100 years old, but he has comprehended two profundities from the law of earth? In a vast city in the southern heaven territory, a young man was sitting in front of a table in the front courtyard of a luxurious mansion. He was sipping tea when he subconsciously tightened his grip on the cup and shattered it. "What's wrong, Chun-Li?" Another young man sitting on the opposite side of the table looked at the young man who had shattered the cup and asked with a puzzled expression. "It's nothing. I just received a voice transmission from someone from a grade 7 sect whom I met on the way to the profound nether mansion." The young man who crushed the cup was Chun-Li. He was the illegitimate son of one of the vice leaders of the Blood Skull Gang. Right now, the person sitting opposite Chun-Li was a friend of his. His temperament was extraordinary, and he was clearly not an ordinary person. Chun-Li was a young man dressed in a brocade robe with silver embroidery. His face was slightly pale, and his body was thin. It was as though his body had been drained by wine and women. However, Chun-Li was not one for wine and women. The reason he was like this was due to his innate malnutrition. Back then, his mother had been on the run while she was pregnant with him. His father's wife had sent people to hunt her down. She had almost died. Although she was lucky enough to give birth to him, he was frail and sickly. Due to this, his father had felt guilty toward him. For this reason, he had taken good care of him. In fact, the reason his father treated him so well was entirely because his father had no other sons other than him. The rest were all daughters. Chun-Li had 9 elder sisters and 13 younger sisters. He was his father's only son. For this reason, his father had spent a lot of effort to find great nourishing celestial pills for him even though he was born with poor physical conditions. At this time, it was useless for him to improve. For this reason, his innate talent and comprehension ability were only average. He was at the bottom among his sisters. However, it was precisely because he was his father's only son that he was able to enjoy treatment that far surpassed that of his elder and younger sisters. "Who are you killing?" the young man sitting opposite Chun-Li asked. This young man was dressed in a long white robe. He had a handsome appearance and held a folding fan in his hand. He was elegant and had an outstanding temperament. There was always a smile on his face, making people feel as if they were bathed in a spring breeze. Sitting together with the pale-faced Chun-Li, they seemed to form two extremes. "For you to lose your composure like this? Could it be that the person you want to kill isn't simple?" the scholarly young man asked. "He's a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial who has comprehended two profundities from the law of earth even though he's not even 100 years old. He stood out in the profound nether mansion's southern Tianxia territory and ranked second on the scoreboard. After that, he joined the Simplicity Celestial sect. If I'm not mistaken, the person who sent me the message is Zheng Hongyi. He's the third direct disciple of the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial sect. I can't believe he actually wants to hire someone from the Blood Skull to kill that person. That person must have offended his interests. The only reason he wants the Blood Skull's assassins to kill him is because he doesn't want to leave any evidence behind." If Zheng Hongyi were here, he would have been shocked to hear Chun-Li's words. After all, Chun-Li knew what Zheng Hongyi was thinking. He's not even 100 years old, but he's already a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial who has comprehended two profundities from the law of earth. Moreover, he's also a sectless cultivator. "He's really talented," Chun-Li muttered to himself as he lowered his voice. At the same time, a hint of jealousy flashed in the depths of his eyes. He, Chun-Li, was jealous of those with high innate talent and high comprehension ability. After all, his innate talent and comprehension ability were only average. A peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial who has comprehended two profundities from the law of earth even though he's not even 100 years old? Moreover, he's also a sectless cultivator? The scholarly young man was slightly surprised when he heard Chun-Li's words. Even grade 6 celestial mansions can produce such geniuses? Even among the 10 great clans and 5 great sects in the Southern Heaven Territory, it was rare to see someone with such achievements before the age of 100. It could even be said that he was as rare as a phoenix feather or a Qilin horn. "What did you say to him?" the scholarly young man asked. "I promised him that I'll return the favor. I'll accept this job on behalf of the Blood Skull Gang. Chen Li replied. It's best to be careful and investigate that person's background. I have a feeling that someone with such innate talent and comprehension ability is unlikely to be a sectless cultivator, the scholarly young man said. Chen Li nodded. Chen Li was one of his few friends, so he naturally didn't wish for Chen Li to provoke someone he couldn't afford to provoke and draw fire onto himself. Moreover, it was unnecessary for Chen Li to offend someone from a grade 7 sect. Don't worry. Chen Li forced a smile on his pale face. Don't you know the Blood Skull Gang's intelligence department? As long as he has a strong background, we'll be able to dig it out for him. Once we're certain he has an extraordinary background, it won't be difficult for us to deal with him, Chen Li said. Although the Blood Skull Gang was notorious in the Southern Heaven Territory, there were still some people they did not dare to offend. For example, those who were close to the Southern Heaven Celestial Lord who ruled the Southern Heaven Territory. For example, those who were important disciples of the 10 major clans and 5 major sects. In the Southern Heaven Territory, Grade 6 celestial mansions and Grade 6 forces were Grade 5 forces. There were only 15 Grade 5 forces in the Southern Heaven Territory. They were known as the 10 major clans and 5 major sects. They were the strongest forces in the Southern Heaven Territory. That's good. Upon hearing Chen Li's words, the scholarly young man nodded. His slightly furrowed brows relaxed. He was well aware of the Blood Skull Gang's intelligence department. It was one of the best in the Southern Heaven Territory. Even his sect's intelligence network might not be as strong as the Blood Skull Gang's. After all, the Blood Skull Gang was an organization of assassins. When do you plan to return? Chen Li asked as he looked at the scholarly young man. I'll leave tomorrow. I've been out for a while now, so it's time for me to return. If you're free, you can come and look for me at any time. The scholarly young man smiled. After all, you're my only friend. A smile appeared on Chen Li's face, which was as pale as a sheet of paper. If there was anyone in this world with good talent and high comprehension ability that he was not jealous of, it would probably be the person in front of him. Chen Li was his only friend. As soon as Chen Li finished speaking, the scholarly young man sighed inwardly. If there was anyone in this world who knew Chen Li the best, it would be him and Chen Li's late mother. You're also my best friend. Forever. The scholarly young man stood up and placed a hand on Chen Li's shoulder as he said with a smile on his face. The smile on Chen Li's pale face grew wider and wider. In the end, it even seemed a little twisted and ferocious. Naturally, he was genuinely happy and touched by Chen Li's words. However, because his facial features were not very regular and his face was pale, when he really smiled, he would involuntarily become like this. In the Simplicity Celestial Sect in the profound Nether Mansion. This is it? Duan Ling Tian stood on the square at the peak of a short mountain that seemed to have been flattened by a blade. He looked at the building in the middle of the square that was 70 to 80% similar to a tower, and his heart jolted slightly. The building had a total of 9 floors, and it belonged to the Simplicity Celestial Sect. There were various cultivation methods, celestial methods, and divine abilities stored in the building. Apart from that, there were also books, memory celestial talismans, and floating image pearls that recorded the battles between celestials. Duan Lingtian's destination was the 9th floor of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. It was also the top floor of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. The top floor contained the king-grade celestial methods, divine abilities, and the sect's most precious cultivation method, a king-grade celestial method. The sect's most precious cultivation method could only be cultivated by the high-ranking officials and true disciples of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. Only these people were allowed to enter the top floor. There was only one door on the first floor. Therefore, if Duan Lingtian wanted to enter the top floor, he would have to slowly climb up from the first floor. 2 burly middle-aged Taoist priests stood at the entrance of the first floor. When they saw Duan Lingtian approaching, their eyes were cold as they stood in front of Duan Lingtian, blocking his path. There were 2 floors in the Simplicity Celestial Sect. One was the outer court while the other was the inner court. If one wanted to enter the inner court, one had to show one's identity token as an inner court disciple. This was to prevent outer court disciples from sneaking into the inner court. Although Duan Lingtian did not know one had to show one's identity token to enter the inner court, he still took out his identity token when he saw the two guards blocking his path. True disciple? The two middle-aged Taoist priests widened their eyes in shock when they saw Duan Lingtian's identity token. Then they quickly made way for Duan Lingtian. So you're the genius who was appointed as a true disciple by the sect leader as soon as you joined the sect. One of the middle-aged Taoist priests looked at Duan Lingtian with an expression that said, "I've heard a lot about you." The other middle-aged Taoist priest did not say anything. However, his eyes shone with passion as he looked at Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly at the two middle-aged Taoist priests before he entered the inner court. The few inner disciples behind him who were preparing to enter also stared blankly at his back as he walked away. They did not expect that the person standing in front of them just now was the genius disciple who had just entered the sect half a month ago, who had been the talk of the town for the past half a month. I heard Duan Lingtian is a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial before he's even 100 years old. Moreover, he has comprehended two profundities from the law of earth. It's hard to imagine such a monstrous genius would appear in the profound nether mansion. The most shocking thing is he's a sectless cultivator. Chapter 3048. Currently, it had been half a month since Duan Lingtian had arrived at the Simplicity Celestial sect. For the past half a month, he had been staying in the cultivation courtyard of his true disciple, helping Huang fuse with the seven orifices exquisite sword. With the help of the Chaos Divine Flame, Duan Lingtian had finally consumed all the star sand he obtained from the Simplicity Celestial sect's treasure vault. Huang Er's fusion with the seven orifices exquisite sword was about 60% complete. It was only a matter of time before the fusion was complete. In fact, as long as Duan Lingtian could find materials similar to star sand that could help Huang fuse with the seven orifices exquisite sword, she would be able to fuse with the seven orifices exquisite sword. At that time, not only would the seven orifices exquisite sword regain its luster as a prominent divine artifact, but Huang would also be able to leave the seven orifices exquisite sword and live in the outside world like an ordinary person. After exhausting all the star sand, Duan Lingtian did not continue to cultivate in the courtyard. Instead, he left the valley where the inner and true disciples cultivated and arrived at the inner court of the Simplicity Celestial sect. His goal was to obtain the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities on the top floor. Although it was unwise to bite off more than one could chew, the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities in the Simplicity Celestial sect were all consumable memory celestial talismans. Since he had a chance to obtain them, why would he miss this opportunity? I should obtain all the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities in the Simplicity Celestial sect, Duan Lingtian thought to himself as he entered the first floor of the Simplicity Celestial sect. At the same time, he made his way to the top floor. When he passed by the other floors, he was stopped as well. However, after he flashed his true disciple token, he was able to enter the top floor without any problems. Throughout this process, all the gatekeepers who saw the direct disciple token in his hand called out his name. After half a month, Duan Lingtian, an overarching heavenly supreme celestial who had just joined the Simplicity Celestial sect, had become famous in the Simplicity Celestial sect. At this moment, apart from those who were still in closed-door cultivation and those who had yet to return, almost everyone in the Simplicity Celestial sect knew about Duan Lingtian. You're Duan Lingtian? As expected, the younger generation will surpass us in time. The person in charge of the top floor was a white-haired old man. His face was full of wrinkles, and the traces of time could be seen clearly. Senior. Although Duan Lingtian did not know the person in charge of the top floor of the Simplicity Celestial sect, he still bowed respectfully. Not bad. You've achieved so much at such a young age, and you're also so polite. A young man like you is very rare in this impetuous era. The old man squeezed out a smile on his wrinkled face, but it was uglier than crying. The old man smiled before he looked at Duan Lingtian and asked without beating around the bush, "Are you here for a king-grade celestial method, divine ability, or cultivation method?" Senior, I'm here for king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities. Duan Lingtian said. The old man nodded. Then he asked, "What kind of king-grade celestial method or divine ability do you want?" What kind of king-grade celestial method or divine ability? Duan Lingtian was confused. He did not understand what the old man was trying to say. What kind of king-grade celestial method or divine ability do you want? The old man asked. Can't I take all of them? Duan Lingtian asked. His purpose for coming here was to take away all the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities from the Simplicity Celestial sect. After all, they were consumables and would not affect the Simplicity Celestial sect. After all, there were definitely powerhouses in the Simplicity Celestial sect who could recreate the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities. You want all of them? The old man's mouth twitched when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Then, he said angrily, "Who said you can take all of them? If he did, I'll break his legs when I get out of here." A hint of exasperation could be seen on the old man's face. Duan Lingtian did not expect the old man to react in such a manner. He smiled wryly and said, "Senior, no one told me I can take all of them. However, no one told me I can't take all of them either." Duan Lingtian recalled that Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial sect, had said he could obtain king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities from the top floor. However, he did not recall Sun Liangpeng mentioning that he could not obtain king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contained any type of law. The old man's expression softened slightly when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. The old man reminded him, even a true disciple can only take king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain a law of any type. This is a rule that has been passed down since ancient times in the Simplicity Celestial sect. As for the reason why there was such a rule, it was because the ancestor was worried that the younger generation would be greedy. With the intention of not biting off more than they could chew, he established this rule. For this reason, you can only take king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain a law of any type. Naturally, you can also take all of the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain a law of any type. However, before you leave the top floor, you'll have to use the memory celestial talisman that contains them. The old man finished speaking. Duan Lingtian smiled wryly. He did not expect the Simplicity Celestial sect would have such a rule. After all, he wanted to take away all of the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities from the top floor. Even if he did not have the time to comprehend other laws, he would still be able to use them in the future. Now that he heard the old man's words, he knew he could only take king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contained a law of any type. I heard you've already comprehended 2 profundities from the law of earth. I suggest you choose the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of earth. The Simplicity Celestial sect has a total of 3 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of earth. 1 king-grade celestial method and 2 king-grade divine abilities. Duan Lingtian nodded. Senior, can I take a look at the 3 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of earth? Duan Lingtian asked. Of course. The old man nodded. Following that, Duan Lingtian was led by the old man to the bookshelf where the 3 memory celestial methods and divine abilities were recorded. There was another memory celestial talisman that introduced the 3 memory celestial talismans. Send your divine consciousness into the memory celestial talismans and you'll understand which profundities from the law of earth they contain. The old man reminded Duan Lingtian. After the old man finished speaking, he stood at the side and looked at Duan Lingtian quietly. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded. At the same time, he extended his divine consciousness and sent it into the first memory celestial talisman. Soon after, a large amount of information surged into his mind. This is a king-grade divine ability called the Earth Soaring Dragon. It contains the Earth Elemental Profundity and another profundity from the Law of Earth, the Earth Elemental Profundity. It's called the Earth Elemental Profundity, the World-Walking Profundity. It's the only profundity in the Law of Earth that focuses on speed. However, before mastering this profundity, it won't be very useful in the air. It's only useful on the ground. Duan Lingtian had heard about the earth elemental profundity from the chaos divine earth before. Therefore, he knew about the weakness of the earth elemental profundity. If you want to unleash the profundity of the earth elemental profundity before mastering it, you'll have to lure your opponent to the ground. Otherwise, the profundity of the earth elemental profundity will be useless. Only by mastering the earth elemental profundity will you be able to escape from the ground. You'll be able to use the earth elemental profundity to mimic the ground. These were the chaos divine earth's words. Let's take a look at the other king grade divine abilities and celestial methods. After withdrawing his divine consciousness, Duan Lingtian shifted his attention to the other memory celestial talisman. Soon after, more information entered his mind. This is a king-grade celestial method called the Thorn Cage. Apart from the earth elemental profundity, it also contains the gravitational space profundity from the law of earth. This king-grade celestial method doesn't seem to be any different from the king-grade celestial method, the Black Rock Prison. Both of them comprehend the law of Earth's gravitational space profundity. Duan Lingtian was slightly disappointed. At the same time, Duan Lingtian shifted his attention to the last memory celestial talisman. This is a king-grade divine ability called the Earth Elemental Profundity. Apart from the Earth Elemental Profundity, it also contains the vibration profundity from the law of Earth. The vibration profundity. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up immediately. According to the chaos divine Earth, although the law of Earth excelled in defense and support, there was another profundity that focused on offense. The offensive profundity from the law of Earth was the vibration profundity. The Earth elemental method that contains the vibration profundity is very tempting. However, the Earth elemental method that contains the Earth elemental profundity is only SOSO. Moreover, the king-grade celestial method, the Bramble Cage, that contains the gravitational space profundity, seems to overlap with the king-grade celestial method, the Black Rock Prison. After all, they both comprehend the gravitational space profundity. Duan Lingtian felt slightly troubled when he thought about this. Based on the current situation, the three king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of Earth would be of great help to him. He could even comprehend many profundities from the law of Earth in a short time. However, he had only comprehended the Earth elemental profundity, the Earth elemental profundity. It was not too late for him to give up on the law of Earth and switch to another law. Senior, where are the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of metal? Also, where are the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire? Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at the old man. Chapter 3049. However, he was not interested in the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contained other laws. With the help of the chaos divine Earth, his comprehension of the law of Earth was much faster than ordinary people. As for the law of metal and the law of fire, he had the help of the chaos divine flame and the profound divine metal, so his comprehension speed was much faster than ordinary people. In fact, no matter how high a person's comprehension ability was, without the help of the 5 divine elements, it would be impossible for them to comprehend the law of Earth, the law of fire, and the law of metal faster than him. Duan Lingtian, don't bite off more than you can chew. The old man frowned. He thought Duan Lingtian would choose the 3 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of Earth. I know, Senior. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. His eyes were filled with determination as he said, Senior, please show me the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of metal and the law of fire. The old man's heart skipped a beat when he saw the determination in Duan Lingtian's eyes. Moreover, Duan Lingtian had only mentioned the law of metal and the law of fire. Could it be that Duan Lingtian had comprehended the law of metal and the law of fire? Was the law of Earth not the only law he had comprehended? The old man thought to himself, impossible. That's impossible. Duan Lingtian is not even 100 years old, but he's already a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial. It's already shocking that he's able to comprehend 2 profundities from the law of Earth. How could he have comprehended another law? However, faced with Duan Lingtian's stubbornness, The old man eventually brought Duan Lingtian to the celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of metal and the law of fire. Boy, you made the right decision. If there are many king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of metal and the law of fire, you should choose them. The chaos divine Earth's childish voice rang out in Duan Lingtian's body. Duan Lingtian had asked for its opinion, so it gave Duan Lingtian a timely answer. The 3 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of Earth. Although you can use the Soaring Dragon's flight technique, it's not practical for you now. Thorn Cage overlaps with your Black Rock Prison, so it's meaningless. Pulse of the Earth is very suitable for you right now, but that's the only useful one. Let's see what the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of metal and the law of fire are like. Then I'll consider if I should take the 3 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of Earth. The Chaos Divine Earth said. After receiving the Chaos Divine Earth's affirmation, Duan Lingtian felt even more confident. The Simplicity Celestial Sect only has 1 king-grade divine ability that contains the law of metal. Soon after, the old man brought Duan Lingtian to the king-grade divine ability that contained the law of metal. At the same time, he said to Duan Lingtian, "Which one?" Duan Lingtian was slightly taken aback. Then, he shook his head and said, "Senior, please take me to the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire." The Simplicity Celestial Sect only had 1 king-grade divine ability that contained the law of metal. Regardless of what profundity it contained, Duan Lingtian would not choose it. It would be better for him to choose the 3 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contained the law of Earth. The 3 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contained the law of Earth would allow him to comprehend 2 more profundities from the law of Earth. Moreover, one of them was the law of Earth's only offensive profundity, the vibration profundity. Although the Earth-traversing profundity was useless to him now, it would definitely come in handy in the future. As for the king-grade celestial method, the Bramble Cage, although it overlapped with the Black Rock Prison technique and contained the gravitational space profundity, who would dare to say that it would be easier for him to comprehend the Bramble Cage? After obtaining the Bramble Cage, would it be easier for him to comprehend the gravitational space profundity? Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the old man remained indifferent. In his opinion, unless there was something wrong with Duan Lingtian's brain, there was no way he would choose the king-grade divine ability that contained the law of metal. Who would choose the 3 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contained the law of Earth? Senior, is there only 1 king-grade celestial method and divine ability that contains the law of fire in the Simplicity Celestial Sect? Duan Lingtian could not help but ask as he followed the old man. If that was the case, he might as well give up and return to the 3 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of Earth. How's that possible? The old man replied arrogantly, "In the Simplicity Celestial Sect, we have more king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire than any other law. In the Profound Nether Mansion, apart from the Profound Nether Mansion, the Simplicity Celestial Sect has the most king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire." The old man said. Upon hearing the old man's words, Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up immediately. In the Profound Nether Mansion, apart from the Profound Nether Mansion, the Simplicity Celestial Sect had the most king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire? Senior, how many king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire do we have in the Simplicity Celestial Sect? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. "Take a look for yourself," the old man replied. The old man's voice resonated in the air. At the same time, Duan Lingtian noticed the old man had stopped in front of a bookshelf. "These are all." Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up as soon as he saw the bookshelf. There were a total of 10 memory celestial talismans on the bookshelf. They were arranged in 2 rows. The memory celestial talismans contained king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities, while the memory celestial talismans contained information about the corresponding memory celestial talismans. If these memory celestial talismans contained information about king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contained the law of fire, it meant the Simplicity Celestial Sect had a total of 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contained the law of fire. Take a look for yourself, the old man said. As soon as the old man finished speaking, Duan Lingtian extended his divine consciousness and shrouded the first memory celestial talisman on the left side. Soon after, the information from the first memory celestial talisman entered his mind. This is a king-grade celestial method that contains the law of fire. It allows one to comprehend the fire elemental profundity and the blazing sun profundity from the law of fire. The blazing sun profundity was one of the profundities from the law of fire. It was an auxiliary profundity that did not contain any offensive, defensive, or speed profundities. Duan Lingtian had learned this from the Chaos Divine Earth. Following that, he shifted his divine consciousness to the next memory celestial talisman. This is a king-grade divine ability that contains the law of fire. It allows one to comprehend the fire elemental profundity and the fire elemental profundity and the fire elemental profundity. The fire elemental profundity was one of the 2 speed profundities from the law of fire. It was similar to the earth elemental profundity from the law of earth. However, it was much more useless than the earth elemental profundity. It could only be used when one was in the rudimentary stage or in the initial stage. It could only be used with the fire elemental profundity at the mastery stage. However, if one wanted to raise the fire elemental profundity to the mastery stage, one would need to obtain an emperor-grade divine ability that contained the fire elemental profundity. The next memory celestial talisman. You can comprehend the explosion profundity from the law of fire. The explosion profundity was one of the 3 offensive profundities from the law of fire. It was extremely powerful and had explosive characteristics. Compared to the previous 2 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities, Duan Lingtian was more interested in this king-grade divine ability. This was because the explosion profundity from the law of fire was much more powerful than the vibration profundity from the law of earth. He continued to look at the memory celestial talisman. You can comprehend the plundering profundity from the law of fire. The plundering profundity was one of the 2 speed profundities from the law of fire. However, it was much more practical than the fire elemental profundity. It could be used at the rudimentary stage. Its speed was not inferior to the gale profundity from the law of wind. As the saying went, as swift as the wind, as plundering as the fire. Soon after, Duan Lingtian's eyes landed on the memory celestial talisman on the far right side. He extended his divine consciousness toward it as well. Information surged into Duan Lingtian's mind like a tidal wave. This is a king-grade divine ability that contains the law of fire. Apart from comprehending the fire elemental profundity, the law of fire's burning profundity, it can also comprehend the law of fire's burning profundity. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he heard this. The burning profundity was a profundity of the law of fire. It was obvious that it was an offensive profundity. The Chaos Divine Earth's words confirmed Duan Lingtian's suspicions. Lad, you're quite lucky. The burning profundity is one of the 3 offensive profundities from the law of fire. The 3 offensive profundities from the law of fire are the explosion profundity, the burning profundity, and the erosion profundity. The explosion profundity and the burning profundity are the strongest offensive profundities from the law of fire. The erosion profundity is more peculiar and uncanny. The Chaos Divine Earth explained. Choose these 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire. With the help of the Chaos Divine Flame, it won't take you long to comprehend them. The Chaos Divine Earth urged Duan Lingtian to choose the 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire. Apart from the fire elemental profundity, the fire elemental profundity, the 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire would also allow one to comprehend 5 other profundities. The blazing sun profundity, the fire elemental profundity, the explosion profundity, the plundering profundity, and the burning profundity. In truth, Duan Lingtian had already decided to choose the 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire even without the chaos divine earth's reminder, since they were the most practical. Senior, I'll choose these 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities. Duan Lingtian looked at the old man standing nearby and said bluntly, "Have you thought it through?" The old man asked for confirmation. "Yes, I have." Duan Lingtian nodded without any hesitation. "All right." Chapter 3050. You must consume these 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities in front of me. You can't take them away. The old man raised his hand and removed the 5 memory celestial talismans that contain the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities from the law of fire. Then he passed them to Duan Lingtian. Memory celestial talismans that contained king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities were consumable memory celestial talismans that contained king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities. For this reason, if the memory celestial talismans that contained king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities were taken away, someone else would have to inscribe them to fill in the gaps. If one wanted to inscribe a memory celestial talisman that contained king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities, one would have to completely comprehend the king-grade celestial method and divine ability. Understood. Duan Lingtian nodded. Then he crushed the 5 memory celestial talismans in front of the old man, allowing the information about king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities to become part of his memory. Duan Lingtian closed his eyes and digested the information about the 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities contained in the memory celestial talismans before he opened his eyes again. His eyes shone brightly as a smile appeared on his face. There are a total of 9 profundities from the law of fire, including the fire elemental profundity. Now, it's as though I've been given the opportunity to comprehend 6 profundities at once. Moreover, I only need to spend some time and effort to comprehend 6 profundities. When he thought of this, Duan Lingtian could not help but feel delighted. "Thank you, Senior." When Duan Lingtian returned to his senses, he looked at the old man beside him and thanked him. "You deserve it. There's no need to thank me." The old man said, "I'm not thanking you for giving me the 5 memory celestial talismans, but I'm thanking you for guiding me to them in such a short time." Duan Lingtian smiled. The old man was taken aback. Then he shook his head and smiled. "Boy, you sure have a sweet tongue. All right, if you have time, you can go to the other floors to have a look. There are many memory celestial talismans there that might be useful to you." "Thank you for your reminder, Senior." Duan Lingtian thanked the old man again, then said goodbye to the old man and left the top floor. After leaving the top floor, Duan Lingtian was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he went to another floor. Just as the old man had said, there were many memory immortal talismans on the other floors, which allowed Duan Lingtian to learn a lot of things that he did not know before. Duan Lingtian stayed for another 3 months. The memory immortal talismans on other floors were very useful to Duan Lingtian, so Duan Lingtian spent a lot of time on them. 3 months? However, although he knew that he had been here for a long time, Duan Lingtian was still shocked when he found out that he had been here for 3 months. He didn't expect that he had been here for so long. "It's time for me to leave." Duan Lingtian knew his top priority now was to break through to the Celestial Duke stage and comprehend the 6 profundities from the Law of Fire with the help of the Chaos Divine Flame. He would be able to comprehend the 6 profundities from the king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities he had obtained. Duan Lingtian. Not long after Duan Lingtian left, before he could return to the valley where the true disciples and inner disciples were located, a figure appeared in his path and blocked his path. Sect leader? The person who had just arrived was none other than Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. "Is there a reason you're looking for me, sect leader?" Duan Lingtian asked curiously when he saw Sun Liangpeng descending from the sky and landing in front of him. "I heard from Elder Zhou that you didn't ask for king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of earth. Instead, you asked for king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire?" Sun Liangpeng asked with a slight frown on his face. When Duan Lingtian had left the top floor, The old man had informed Sun Liangpeng about this matter. Sun Liangpeng was confused. He did not know why Duan Lingtian had made such a decision. He did not believe Duan Lingtian had comprehended the law of fire apart from the law of earth. At that time, Sun Liangpeng had wanted to look for Duan Lingtian immediately. However, when he saw Duan Lingtian was reading some memory celestial talismans on the top floor, he dismissed the idea of disturbing Duan Lingtian. Until today, when Duan Lingtian walked out and he received the message from the person guarding the first floor, he immediately put aside what he was doing and came to look for Duan Lingtian. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded. Duan Lingtian, although there are many king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire in the Simplicity Celestial sect, there's no need for you to choose those king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities. It's better for you to choose king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of earth. Sun Liangpeng did not beat around the bush. Sect leader, do you think I'm being greedy and chose king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire? Duan Lingtian asked with a smile on his face. How could he not understand the meaning behind Sun Liangpeng's words? Naturally, he knew Sun Liangpeng had only warned him out of goodwill. Don't tell me you've comprehended the law of fire as well? Sun Liangpeng's heart skipped a beat when he saw the natural smile on Duan Lingtian's face. You'll find out in the future, sect leader. For now, I plan to return to my cultivation. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. After bidding farewell to Sun Liangpeng, Duan Lingtian continued to walk forward. Sun Liangpeng's eyes flashed with confusion as he looked at Duan Lingtian's departing figure. Duan Lingtian's choice and his confidence made Sun Liangpeng feel like he could not see through Duan Lingtian at all. Who's Duan Lingtian? How can there be someone like him among the sectless cultivators? Sun Liangpeng's emotions surged, and it took a long time for him to calm down. When Duan Lingtian returned to his true disciple's cultivation courtyard, Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. In the same valley, in an inner court disciple's courtyard, Zheng Hongyi, who was watching Duan Lingtian enter the true disciple's courtyard, suddenly raised his eyebrows as though he had sensed something. After 3 months, there's finally a letter. At this moment, Zheng Hongyi received a message from a distant place. It was from the illegitimate son of one of the deputy leaders of the Blood Skull Gang that he had been looking for. He had been waiting for this message for more than 3 months. During the past 3 months, he had been eagerly waiting for this message. He had even thought that the bastard son of the vice chief of the Blood Skull would go back on his word and refuse to help him. Duan Lingtian from the borderlands, hearing the contents of the other party's message, Zheng Hongyi was dumbfounded. The borderlands? Naturally, Zheng Hongyi knew the Southern Heaven territory was divided into the central area and the borderlands. In the past, in his eyes, the borderlands were barbarians because there was a formation between the central area and the borderlands that restricted the existence of experts at the Immortal King realm and above in the borderlands. Thus, it was generally impossible for immortal kings to exist in the borderlands. For this reason, the strongest force in the borderlands was only a grade 9 force. Most of them were mediocre forces that were not worth mentioning at all. It did not cross Zheng Hongyi's mind that the sectless cultivator, Duan Lingtian, whom he wished he could kill, actually came from the godforsaken borderlands. Someone with his innate talent and comprehension ability can actually appear in the borderlands? Is he the reincarnation of a powerhouse from somewhere? Zheng Hongyi thought to himself. Although the conditions for reincarnation were harsh, and very few people were able to reincarnate successfully, there were still people who would take the risk. Among these people, there were a few who were able to reincarnate successfully. Those who were reincarnated usually had a high starting point. Once they regained their memories, they would be able to comprehend the profundities they had comprehended in their previous lives. Their comprehension ability was heaven-defying. For this reason, Zheng Hongyi suspected Duan Lingtian was a reincarnated celestial. An ascender? When Zheng Hongyi learned that Duan Lingtian had ascended from the mundane realm to the spirit overarching heaven, he was dumbfounded. Then Duan Lingtian is also an ascender? He's not even 100 years old, but he's already an ascender. It seems like he's indeed a reincarnated celestial. Moreover, he must have regained his memories from his previous life. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to comprehend the profundities of a law at such a young age. Zheng Hongyi thought to himself. At the same time, Chen Li, the illegitimate son of the vice leader of the Blood Skull Gang, sent a message saying that the Blood Skull Gang's intelligence department suspected Duan Lingtian was a reincarnated celestial. Fortunately, Duan Lingtian was unaware of this. If he knew, he would be shocked by the intelligence department of the Blood Skull Gang. In just 3 months, the Blood Skull Gang's intelligence department had dug up all the information about Duan Lingtian. They even found out that he was an ascender from the mundane realm. The Blood Skull Gang has spent a lot of effort to investigate Duan Lingtian's background. According to the rules of the Blood Skull Gang, you don't have to bear the cost of the investigation. However, we want all the belongings of the target. Chen Li said to Zheng Hongyi, I know that. Young Master Chen, is the Blood Skull Gang's offer for Duan Lingtian out yet? Zheng Hongyi asked. Chen Li's last sentence was not limited to the Blood Skull Gang's rules. It was the same for all prominent assassin organizations in the Southern Heaven Territory. Therefore, Zheng Hongyi was not surprised at all. 6 purely defensive king-grade celestial weapons or 2 purely defensive celestial weapons that have been nurtured by celestial lords. Chen Li said. Chapter 3051. Chen Li continued to say, Naturally, I'm referring to the price of our 1 basic celestial king assassin. If you want a stronger assassin, the price will be different. However, I think it should be enough to kill a mere peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial with the weakest assassin in the Blood Skull Gang, right? That's enough. Zheng Hongyi nodded repeatedly. The price of the 1 basic celestial king assassin from the Blood Skull Gang is 2 purely defensive king-grade celestial weapons that have been nurtured by a celestial lord? Zheng Hongyi inhaled sharply when he heard the price of the 1 basic celestial king assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. Although he had expected the price of the Blood Skull Gang to be high, he did not expect it to be so high. Fortunately, I found Wang Hong. Although I can take out 2 purely defensive celestial weapons that have been nurtured by celestial lords, once I take them out, I won't have any defensive celestial weapons that have been nurtured by celestial lords. Zheng Hongyi felt slightly relieved. He only had 2 purely defensive celestial weapons that had been nurtured by a celestial lord, and one of them was used to protect himself. Although he hated Duan Lingtian for snatching the last position of a true disciple in the Simplicity Celestial sect, he was not willing to sacrifice his life-saving celestial weapon in exchange for Duan Lingtian's life. However, according to Chen Li, we can exchange 6 purely defensive king-grade celestial weapons for the 2 purely defensive celestial weapons that have been nurtured by a celestial lord. It seems like a purely defensive celestial weapon that has been nurtured by a celestial lord can only be exchanged for 3 purely defensive king-grade celestial weapons. On the other hand, in the profound Nether Mansion, a purely defensive celestial weapon that has been nurtured by a celestial lord can be exchanged for 4 purely defensive king-grade celestial weapons. As for the other king-grade celestial weapons, the ratio is the same. Zheng Hongyi's eyes lit up when he thought about this. Coincidentally, he had 2 pure defensive king-grade celestial weapons. As long as he could obtain a pure defensive king-grade celestial weapon that had been nurtured by a celestial lord, he would be able to exchange it for 4 pure defensive king-grade celestial weapons. At that time, all he had to do was to hand over the 6 purely defensive king-grade celestial weapons to the assassin. If that was the case, he would not have to sacrifice the purely defensive king-grade celestial weapon that had been nurtured by a celestial lord. Young Master Chen, I accept your offer. When will your Blood Skull assassins arrive? Zheng Hongyi asked Chen Li. He couldn't wait for the Blood Skull Gang's assassins to arrive today and kill Duan Lingtian. However, he also knew that it was impossible for the Blood Skull's assassins to come here today. Even if the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang managed to make it here today, as long as Duan Lingtian remained in the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate, it would be difficult for him to kill Duan Lingtian. After all, the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang was only a 1 basic celestial king. He was not strong enough to force his way into the Simplicity Celestial sect. Even if he managed to kill Duan Lingtian, he would not be able to escape from the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate. No matter how extraordinary the assassin was, he was only a one basic celestial king. Although the one basic celestial king was supported by the Blood Skull Gang, the Simplicity Celestial Sect was supported by the Profound Nether Mansion. The Profound Nether Mansion was supported by one of the 10 major clans in the Southern Heaven Territory. None of the 10 major clans in the Southern Heaven Territory feared the Blood Skull Gang at all. In fact, the Blood Skull Gang did not even dare to accept orders that targeted the important disciples of the 10 major clans. We'll send a one basic Celestial King assassin to the Simplicity Celestial Sect within 3 days. He'll make his way over as soon as possible. The Blood Skull Gang's rule is to take half of the payment as a deposit. You'll have to pay him half of the payment when he arrives, Qinli said. Zheng Hongyi nodded. All right. At the same time, after greeting Qinli respectfully, he cut off the communication with Qinli. A1 basic Celestial King assassin is asking for 2 purely defensive celestial weapons that have been nurtured by a celestial lord. This price is at least 5 times higher than the price offered by assassins in the Profound Nether Mansion. After ending the call, Zheng Hongyi could not help but click his tongue in shock. He felt the Blood Skull Gang's price was too high. However, he knew the Blood Skull Gang's price was based on the target's strength and distance to the target. Moreover, if he hired an assassin organization in the Profound Nether Mansion's territory, as long as his master, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, approached the Profound Nether Mansion, the Profound Nether Mansion would put pressure on the assassin organization in the Profound Nether Mansion's territory. At that time, not only would it be impossible for him to become a true disciple of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, but with his master's temper, his master might even kill him. Even if his master did not kill him, the Simplicity Celestial Sect would no longer tolerate him. Moreover, his cultivation base would most likely be crippled after he was expelled from the Simplicity Celestial Sect. For this reason, to be safe, he had no choice but to accept the Blood Skull Gang's price. There is a saying that says it well, it was better to be safe than sorry. Now, it's time to look for Wang Hong and ask for a purely defensive king-grade celestial weapon that has been nurtured by a celestial lord. After leaving his courtyard, Zheng Hongyi went to look for Wang Hong. As long as I exchange the purely defensive king-grade celestial weapon that has been nurtured by a celestial lord for 4 ordinary purely defensive king-grade celestial weapons, I'll only need to offer 2 ordinary purely defensive king-grade celestial weapons. That's more than enough to pay the Blood Skull Gang. Unfortunately, imagination was beautiful, but reality was cruel. After he found Wang Hong and told her about the Blood Skull Gang's price, Wang Hong replied, "Although I've never met the Blood Skull Gang, I'm aware of the process that the top assassin organizations in the Southern Heaven Territory follow. Before they make a move, they'll take half of the reward as a deposit. Call me over when the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang arrives, and I'll pay the deposit. As for the rest of the payment, you can pay him after he completes his mission." As soon as Wang Hong's words came out, Zheng Hongyi's hopes were completely crushed. With Wang Hong doing this, all his previous thoughts had turned into a fantasy. He couldn't take advantage of Wang Hong at all. After returning to the Southern Heaven Territory, Duan Lingtian had been sitting cross-legged on the ice bed in his courtyard. He was not cultivating. Instead, he was comprehending the law of fire's fundamental profundity, the fire elemental profundity, with the help of the Chaos Divine Flame. Duan Lingtian could still remember the Chaos Divine Flame's words. If you can obtain the Fire-type King-grade Celestial Method and Divine Ability, I'll help you comprehend the law of fire's fundamental profundity, the fire elemental profundity, within 3 hours. When the Chaos Divine Flame had said this, its arrogant voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. For this reason, Duan Lingtian was filled with anticipation. Would the Chaos Divine Flame really be able to help him comprehend the law of fire's fundamental profundity, the fire elemental profundity, within 3 hours? During the process of comprehending the law of fire's fundamental profundity, Duan Lingtian followed the Chaos Divine Flame's instructions. He summoned the Chaos Divine Flame from his body and allowed it to float on his fingertips, just like when he was refining pills. Naturally, he had only summoned the Chaos Divine Flame. He did not refine pills. Soon after, his consciousness cleared up. Under the guidance of the chaos divine flame, he sensed the gray flame dancing on his fingertips. It was the chaos divine flame. As time passed, Duan Lingtian discovered his consciousness had completely merged with the gray flame. His emotions changed with the gray flame. During this process, many different images appeared in his mind. Without exception, all of these images were images of him using the chaotic divine flame to refine pills. Gradually, Duan Lingtian's consciousness was completely immersed in the gray flame on his fingertips. He had completely forgotten about the passage of time. When he regained his senses, he discovered he could communicate with the law of fire's fire elemental profundity. He had completely comprehended the law of fire's fundamental profundity, the fire elemental profundity. As for how long this process took, he had no idea at all. It felt as though it was only a blink of an eye, but it also felt as though a century had passed. How long did it take? Duan Lingtian asked the Chaos Divine Flame. 2.5 hours. The Chaos Divine Flame replied. Humph. As soon as the Chaos Divine Flame finished speaking, the Chaos Divine Earth snorted coldly. Nonsense. It was clearly 2.5 hours and 3 breaths. However, the Chaos Divine Flame ignored the Chaos Divine Earth's words. Based on the Chaos Divine Earth's tone, Duan Lingtian could sense a hint of bitterness in its tone. After all, it had taken the Chaos Divine Earth an entire night to help him comprehend the law of Earth's fundamental profundity, the Earth elemental profundity. Now that the Chaos Divine Flame had helped him comprehend the law of fire's fundamental profundity, the fire elemental profundity, in less than 3 hours. Naturally, Duan Lingtian knew the reason he was able to comprehend the law of fire's fundamental profundity, the fire elemental profundity, so quickly was partly because he had been in contact with the Chaos Divine Flame since a young age. He had even refined pills with it many times. While he was refining pills with the Chaos Divine Flame, his comprehension of the fire elemental profundity had unknowingly changed. With the Chaos Divine Flame's help, he managed to comprehend the law of fire's fundamental profundity, the fire elemental profundity, in just slightly more than 2 hours. The fire elemental profundity. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy surged out of his body. With just a thought, the fire elemental profundity merged with his celestial origin energy, causing his celestial origin energy to turn fiery red. Bush, 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 bush. Every time Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy that had merged with the law of fire's fundamental profundity, the fire elemental profundity, stirred, the sound of something burning could be heard in the air. Bush, bush, bush. Chapter 3052. The celestial origin energy that has merged with the fire elemental profundity is stronger than the celestial origin energy that has merged with the earth elemental profundity. It was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to discover this when he sensed the celestial origin energy that had merged with the fire elemental profundity. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to merge the earth elemental profundity with his celestial origin energy, he discovered the fire elemental profundity in his celestial origin energy was repelling the earth elemental profundity. Duan Lingtian was confused when he discovered this. He could not help but ask the Chaos Divine Flame and the Chaos Divine Earth. Lad, before you become a god and form a law clone, you can only use one law at a time when you're fighting with others, the Chaos Divine Earth said. It's not impossible for you to use a second law, but you'll have to disperse the first law's fundamental profundity in your celestial origin energy and merge the second law's fundamental profundity with your celestial origin energy. Then, you'll be able to use the second law. You should know that the profundity of a law is dependent on the fundamental profundity. In other words, once your celestial origin energy has merged with the earth elemental profundity, you won't be able to merge it with the fire elemental profundity and the other profundities from the law of fire. Therefore, you won't be able to use the other profundities from the law of earth and the law of fire. If you're an ordinary person, I suggest you focus on one law before you become a god. However, if you're a god, I'll agree with you comprehending the law of earth, the law of fire, and the law of metal at the same time. With the Chaos Divine Flame, the Profound Divine Metal, and the Chaos Divine Flame, you'll be able to quickly comprehend the profundities from these three laws. Duan Ling Tian nodded. With the three of us helping you, you'll definitely be able to comprehend all the profundities from the law of earth, the law of fire, and the law of metal before you become a god. If you can help us evolve to a higher form, it won't be impossible for you to comprehend all the profundities from these three laws to the mastery stage before you become a god. The Chaos Divine Earth said, even if that's the case, before I become a deity, I can only choose to use one law when I fight with others? Duan Lingtian knew very well that once he fought with someone, it would be very difficult for him to change the celestial origin energy from one law's fundamental profundity to another law. Under such circumstances, it was naturally better to use the strongest law that one had comprehended. That's right. The Chaos Divine Earth replied, therefore, before you ascend to godhood, it's best if you use the strongest law you've comprehended. However, based on the current situation, temporarily focusing on the laws of fire is the best choice for you. Although the Chaos Divine Earth could help Duan Lingtian quickly comprehend the profundities from the law of earth, that was only possible if Duan Lingtian obtained a king-grade celestial method or divine ability that contained the corresponding profundities. Currently, Duan Lingtian possessed a king-grade celestial method that allowed him to comprehend the law of Earth's gravitational space profundity. However, Duan Lingtian possessed 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contained the law of Earth. He could comprehend 5 profundities from the law of fire: the blazing sun profundity, the fire elemental profundity, the explosion profundity, the plundering profundity, and the burning profundity. In addition to the fundamental profundities, Duan Lingtian possessed 2 profundities from the law of earth and 6 profundities from the law of fire. For this reason, it was best for him to focus on the law of fire for now. Indeed, the law of fire is the most suitable for me. Duan Lingtian nodded. However, although you're currently focusing on comprehending the profundities from the law of fire, if you encounter a bottleneck while comprehending the profundities from the law of fire, you still have to study the gravitational space profundity. After all, you've only scratched the surface of the gravitational space profundity. You're already capable of unleashing its full potential. Duan Lingtian nodded. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded again. Senior Chaos Divine Flame, now that I've comprehended the law of fire's fundamental profundity, the fire elemental profundity, I'll be able to comprehend the other profundities from the law of fire. When Duan Lingtian recalled the 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain the law of fire in his mind, he asked the Chaos Divine Flame, which profundity from the law of fire should I comprehend first? You don't need to ask him. I can answer you. You can choose one of the 3 Upanishads: Exploding Upanishad, Plundering Upanishad, and Burning Upanishad. You should prioritize the explosion profundity first, the Chaos Divine Earth said before the Chaos Divine Flame could reply. You should comprehend the plundering profundity first. The Chaos Divine Flame said, even with my help, the explosion profundity will take longer to comprehend compared to the burning profundity and the plundering profundity. As a celestial alchemist, your perception of fire is limited to its burning speed. Duan Lingtian hasn't experienced the explosion of fire. Therefore, it's destined that your speed of comprehending the burning profundity and the plundering profundity will be faster than your speed of comprehending the explosion profundity. Compared to the Chaos Divine Earth, the Chaos Divine Flame was more familiar with Duan Lingtian's current situation. For this reason, it made a decision for Duan Lingtian. The burning profundity and the plundering profundity are focused on speed and offense respectively. However, the burning profundity isn't the strongest offensive profundity from the law of fire. The explosion profundity is. For this reason, I think it's better for you to comprehend the plundering profundity first. The Chaos Divine Flame finished speaking. All right, I'll listen to you, Senior. Duan Lingtian agreed. Moreover, as long as you've comprehended the law of fire's plundering profundity, you'll be able to charge at your opponent with fire while you're running. In that case, the plundering profundity will be extremely powerful. Moreover, you can also fuse the plundering profundity into your attacks to increase the power of your attacks. Although it's not as powerful as the explosion profundity, the burning profundity, or the corrosion profundity, it's still an offensive technique. Duan Ling Tian nodded. All right. Duan Ling Tian nodded. He could understand the Chaos Divine Flame's words. Previously, when he was in the lower realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm, Sima Chun from the Sima clan had comprehended 2 profundities from the Law of Wind. Apart from the Wind Elemental profundity, he had also comprehended the Gale profundity. The Gale profundity was a profundity from the Law of Wind that focused on speed. However, since the Gale profundity could be fused into one's attacks at a high speed, it could also increase the power of one's attacks. Speed could bring about inertia. This was a widely acknowledged law even on Earth where Duan Lingtian was from in his past life. With the help of the Chaos Divine Flame, Duan Lingtian began to comprehend the Law of Fire's plundering profundity. After a few months, Duan Lingtian had also made a breakthrough in his comprehension of the pillaging profundity. He was finally able to cast the pillaging profundity. With this, Duan Lingtian's comprehension of the Law of Fire's plundering profundity had caught up with his comprehension of the Law of Earth's gravitational space profundity. Profound Divine Metal, you're finally awake. At this moment, the Chaos Divine Earth's childish voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. He knew the Profound Divine Metal had finally woken up after a long period of slumber. Previously, the Profound Divine Metal and the Chaos Divine Flame had joined forces to help Duan Lingtian make the Divine Tree of Life acknowledge him as its master. However, since the Chaos Divine Flame was already in its 3rd form, it quickly woke up. The Profound Divine Metal was only in its 2nd form, so it took a few more months to wake up compared to the Chaos Divine Flame. You little kid, it's fine that I'm awake. Why are you making such a big fuss? The Profound Divine Metal's voice was slightly sluggish. It was clear it was not fully awake yet. Hey, Profound Divine Metal, I have good news and bad news for you. Which one do you want to hear first? The Chaos Divine Earth didn't react the way it did in the past when the Profound Divine Metal called it a baby. Instead, it ignored the Profound Divine Metal's words and chuckled. Stop keeping me in suspense. The Profound Divine Metal said indifferently, even if you don't tell me, the Chaos Divine Flame can tell me. I'll tell you the bad news first. Upon hearing the Profound Divine Metal's words, the Chaos Divine Earth no longer hesitated and said, not long ago, this brat obtained 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain different profundities from the Law of Fire. For this reason, he'll have to focus on comprehending the Law of Fire and won't be able to comprehend the Law of Metal. 5 king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contain different profundities from the Law of Fire? The Profound Divine Metal was slightly surprised when it heard the Chaos Divine Earth's words. It seems like this little guy has been quite lucky while I was asleep. What's the good news? The Profound Divine Metal did not think much of the Chaos Divine Earth's words. After all, even if Duan Lingtian had obtained king-grade celestial methods and divine abilities that contained the Law of Metal, he would not be able to help Duan Lingtian comprehend the Law of Metal since he was in his 2nd form. I forgot that you're still in your 2nd form. A hint of regret could be heard in the Chaos Divine Earth's childish voice when it heard the Profound Divine Metal's words. As soon as the Chaos Divine Earth finished speaking, the Profound Divine Metal exclaimed in shock, "Little guy, you obtained a 1st form Profound Divine Metal?" The Chaos Divine Earth's words were directed at Duan Lingtian. I'm quite lucky to have found a 1st form Profound Divine Metal for you, Senior. As Duan Lingtian spoke, he took out the 1st form Profound Divine Metal from his spatial ring. Chapter 3053. In a lush forest 10,000 miles north of the Simplicity Celestial Sex Estate, a skinny middle-aged man dressed in black could be seen hovering in the air. His feet were less than 3 feet above the ground. The middle-aged man's face was pale. Due to his skinny appearance, his cheekbones were protruding. His cheekbones were sunken, making him look like a bag of bones. Apart from that, if one looked closely, one would notice that there was a blood-red mark on his face. On the chest area of the middle-aged man's black clothes, there was a blood-red, lifelike skull imprinted on it. Suddenly, The middle-aged man raised an eyebrow as though he had sensed something. Swoosh, swoosh. Accompanied by two wind-like sounds, two figures flew side by side from a distance in the forest. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of the middle-aged man. "You're Zheng Hongyi?" The middle-aged man's gaze fell on the young man as he asked in an indifferent tone. From the beginning until the end, he did not even spare a glance at the woman standing next to the young man. It was as though she did not exist. Wang Hong would have flown into a rage if she was ignored by an ordinary person. After all, apart from being a famous inner disciple of the Simplicity Celestial sect, she was also the granddaughter of the Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial sect. However, she did not dare to put on airs in front of the middle-aged man. Although the middle-aged man's cultivation base was not as high as her grandfather's, the Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial sect, he was not a match for her. However, the other party's background was something that even her grandfather did not dare to provoke. The Blood Skull Gang was one of the 3 strongest assassin organizations in the Southern Heaven Territory. It was infamous in the Southern Heaven Territory. Among the many forces in the Southern Heaven Territory, only the 10 major clans and the 5 major sects were not afraid of the Blood Skull Gang. The Simplicity Celestial sect was only a grade 7 sect. Although it was affiliated with the Profound Nether Mansion, there were many grade 7 sects affiliated with grade 6 celestial mansions in the Profound Nether Mansion. "Yes, Senior. I'm Zheng Hongyi." Standing in front of the middle-aged man, Zheng Hongyi could clearly feel the killing intent that was unintentionally emitted from the middle-aged man's body, causing his hair to stand on end as he hurriedly responded. "Who did you contact to place the order for the Blood Skull Gang?" The middle-aged man asked again. Obviously, he wanted to confirm the identity of the person before him and see if he was really the one who had placed the order with the blood skull. "Chen Li, young Master Chen." Zheng Hongyi said, "You should know the rules, right?" The middle-aged man glanced at Zheng Hongyi. "I know." Zheng Hongyi nodded, then turned to look at the woman beside him and called out, "Wang Hong." "Senior, this is the deposit." With a raise of her hand, a rattan armor that emitted a jade-green luster appeared in Wang Hong's hand. At first glance, the rattan armor looked like it was woven from vines emitting green light. It was bright, dazzling, and extremely eye-catching. "That's right." The middle-aged man examined the armor and nodded in satisfaction. "This is a purely defensive king-grade celestial weapon that has been nurtured by a celestial lord." After the middle-aged man put away the rattan armor, he looked at Zheng Hongyi and Wang Hong and said, "If the target leaves the Simplicity Celestial sect, remember to inform me immediately. After the mission is over, I'll collect the remaining half of the reward." Following which, the middle-aged man asked for Zheng Hongyi and Wang Hong's soul pearls. He also gave them his soul pearls so that they could communicate via immortal message talismans. After exchanging the soul orbs, the middle-aged man left. In just a blink of an eye, he disappeared into thin air before Zheng Hongyi and Wang Hongyi. Zheng Hongyi and Wang Hong were not surprised by this. After all, the middle-aged man was a one-basic celestial king. Moreover, as an assassin from the Blood Skull Gang, he was much stronger than ordinary one-basic celestial kings in the Profound Nether Mansion. Put everything else aside, just the profundities of the law that the middle-aged man had comprehended were not something ordinary one-basic celestial kings in the Profound Nether Mansion could compare to. Moreover, the middle-aged man was from the Blood Skull Gang, so he had no lack of celestial methods and divine abilities. If Duan Lingtian doesn't leave the Sex Estate, even if the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang comes, they won't be able to kill him, right? Wang Hong looked at Zheng Hongyi and said, "Based on what I know, ever since he joined the sect, he hasn't left the Sex Estate. Apart from going to the Sex Estate once, he's been cultivating in his true disciple's courtyard. I'm afraid it won't be easy to lure him out of the Sex Estate. Moreover, even if there's a way to lure him out of the sect, he'll definitely ask your master to send someone to escort him out. At that time, even the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang might not be able to kill him." Wang Hong voiced her concerns. "Don't worry." Upon hearing Wang Hong's words, Zheng Hongyi said nonchalantly, "Duan Lingtian will soon leave the Sex Estate on his own." But Wang Hong asked, It's a secret. Zheng Hongyi looked at Wang Hong meaningfully before a mysterious smile appeared on his face. Then he rose into the air and left the forest. Wang Hong left as well. However, her expression was unsightly. How dare Zheng Hongyi keep her in suspense? After all, she had to bear half of the reward for hiring the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang to kill Duan Lingtian. 3 days later, in the Simplicity Celestial Sect, in the valley where the true disciples and inner disciples cultivated, Duan Lingtian, a middle-aged man dressed in the robes of an inner disciple, appeared in the courtyard of a true disciple and greeted him. Duan Lingtian was in the midst of comprehending the law of fire's pillaging profundity in his room when he heard the commotion outside. He was slightly taken aback. Someone's looking for me? In his bewilderment, Duan Lingtian opened the door to his courtyard and looked at a middle-aged man that was standing in the air not far away from the courtyard. The middle-aged man was the one who had called out to him earlier. "What's the matter?" Duan Lingtian asked. "Earlier, before I entered the sect's encampment, I received a voice transmission. At the same time, the person who sent the voice transmission to me delivered a letter to me from afar." The middle-aged man handed the letter to Duan Lingtian as he spoke. The words to Duan Lingtian were written on the letter. This method of sending a letter, Duan Lingtian frowned when he saw the letter. He had been in the spirit overarching heaven for quite some time, but this was his first time seeing someone using such an ancient method to send a letter. "Did you see who sent the letter to you?" Duan Lingtian asked the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man shook his head. The person who sent the voice transmission was a man. "A man?" Duan Lingtian frowned. "Who could it be?" "Duan Ling, if there's nothing else, I'll return to my residence first," the middle-aged man said. Thank you." Duan Lingtian nodded. After the middle-aged man left, Duan Lingtian opened the envelope in his hand and took out the folded letter. At the same time, he unfolded the letter. The 2 paragraphs on the letter were clearly reflected in his eyes. As soon as he read the 2 paragraphs of words on the letter, his expression changed completely. There were only 2 words on the first paragraph of the letter. The second paragraph was a long one. 100,000 miles to the east of the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate. Come here alone. If I find someone following you here, even if you don't see me, she'll definitely die. Duan Lingtian had been worried about Huan Er's whereabouts ever since she went missing. His heart was filled with anxiety when he saw the letter. She was kidnapped? And now, the person who gave me the letter wants me to meet him alone? It's obvious that he has an ulterior motive. Might not know where I am. Even if she knows, she wouldn't expose my whereabouts. How did that person find out about Huan? Is Huan really with him? Although his heart was burning with anxiety, Duan Lingtian did not lose his reason. After taking a deep breath, he calmly pondered. Regardless of whether Huan is with him or not, and regardless of his motive, I have to make a trip there. Although Huan might not be with him, and the person wanted him to meet him for some reason, Duan Lingtian was certain Huan was not with him. However, Duan Lingtian did not dare to take the risk. If Huan was with him, and he did not cooperate with the person might harm Huan. However, it's obvious the other party has ill intentions. I have to be careful. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian left the valley where the true disciples and inner court disciples' small courtyards were located and made his way east. After Duan Lingtian left, a figure walked out of one of the inner disciples' courtyards. He took the bait. The figure was none other than Zheng Hongyi, the 3rd direct disciple of Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. At this moment, a bright smile could be seen on Zheng Hongyi's face. As expected of one of the 3 strongest assassin organizations in the Southern Heaven Territory, I was worried about how to lure Duan Lingtian out of the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate. Who knew they would have a way to lure Duan Lingtian out of the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate? I wonder what method the Blood Skull Gang used to lure Huan out of the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate. Although Zheng Hongyi knew the Blood Skull Gang had a way to lure Duan Lingtian out of the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate, He did not know what method the Blood Skull Gang had used. 3 days ago, Zheng Hongyi had confidently told Wang Hong that Duan Lingtian would leave the Simplicity Celestial Sex estate soon because Chen Li had informed him that the Blood Skull Gang had a way to lure Duan Lingtian out of the Simplicity Celestial Sex estate. Moreover, Duan Lingtian would be forced to leave the Simplicity Celestial Sex estate alone. Moreover, Duan Lingtian did not dare to ask anyone to leave with him. He's left. Zheng Hongyi's eyes flashed as he contacted the assassin sent by the Blood Skull Gang through a communication celestial talisman, informing him that Duan Lingtian had left the Simplicity Celestial Sex estate. Meanwhile, he took the bait? Chapter 3054. Similar to the spirit overarching heaven, the 10,000 beasts heaven was one of the 80 Devata realms. However, it was different from the spirit overarching heaven. 99% of the life forms in Wansho heaven were immortal beasts. This was because the immortal beasts in Wansho heaven ostracized humans and other life forms. If they encountered humans or other life forms, they would immediately kill them. On the other hand, the spirit overarching heaven was a Devata realm where humans and celestial beasts coexisted peacefully. In the Wansho heaven, the Dragon Clan was one of the more powerful forces under the Heavenly Emperor Palace of the Wansho Heaven. The patriarch of the Dragon's Clan was a 10 Directions celestial emperor. His strength was comparable to the Heavenly Emperor of the 10,000 Beasts Heaven. Below the clan leader, there were many dragons among the dragons. It was because of their existence that the dragon's status in Wansho Heaven was established. The residence of the dragons was located in a vast plain called the Ancestral Dragon Plain. This plain was also the territory of the dragons. Usually, very few immortal beasts dared to approach it. In the outer region of the Ancestral Dragon Plain, 2 figures shot out from the Ancestral Dragon Plain like a bolt of black lightning and a bolt of white lightning. In the blink of an eye, they left the Ancestral Dragon Plain. Not long after the 2 figures left, a gray figure appeared in the sky above the outer region of the Ancestral Dragon Plains. It was an old man in a gray robe. He was tall and sturdy, but there was a hint of helplessness in his eyes. The old man raised his hand and an immortal talisman appeared in his hand. Then, the immortal talisman burned and turned into a 7-colored light that shot into the sky. Almost at the same time as the 7-colored light rushed into the sky, the void in the distance trembled, and a group of people stepped through the air from afar. Their movements were uniform, and they looked majestic. There were a total of 11 people in this group, led by a middle-aged man. They all wore silver armor, and the middle-aged man's armor was the thickest. 13th Elder. When they saw the old man, the middle-aged man in the lead hurriedly bowed respectfully to the old man, and the group of 10 people behind him followed suit. Did you see the 2 little fellows who just left? The old man looked at the middle-aged man and asked. The middle-aged man shook his head. Just as the old man was feeling a little disappointed, the middle-aged man added, however, although I didn't see the person you're talking about, I did sense 2 waves of celestial origin energy moving outside. It went that way. As the middle-aged man spoke, he pointed towards the south. Almost at the same time the middle-aged man finished speaking, the old man had already disappeared in front of the middle-aged man and the others like a ghost, as if he had disappeared into thin air. It seems that the ones who left were those 2 little fellows. After the old man left, the middle-aged man shook his head and sighed. Captain, do you know who the 13th Elder is chasing? Among the 10 people behind the middle-aged man, a young man asked curiously. A few years ago, the youngest elder of the dragons, Elder Ji Xiang, brought 2 clansmen back from the mundane realm, right? The middle-aged man asked. Of course I have. The young man's eyes lit up as he said confidently, it said that the 2 clan leaders were 8-clawed divine dragons in the mundane realm. After they entered the clan, they were baptized in the dragon pool and showed signs of transforming into 9-clawed divine dragons. Then, they displayed extraordinary innate talent in a short time. Currently, they're not even 100 years old, but they've already broken through and become celestial dukes. One of them has comprehended 4 profundities from the law of water. The other one has only comprehended 3 profundities from the law of destruction, but he has comprehended one of the profundities to the initial stage. This is why his battle prowess is much higher than the former. Both of them are rare geniuses in the dragons of the 10,000 beasts heaven. For this reason, the clan leader thinks highly of them and even sent the 13th elder. When the young man spoke up to this point, he seemed to have recalled something. His eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at the middle-aged man in shock and asked, "Captain, don't tell me the 2 little fellows that 13th elder asked us about are them?" "Yes, it's them." The middle-aged man smiled wryly. Moreover, based on the 13th elder's actions, it's obvious he didn't keep an eye on them and allowed them to escape. I hope 13th elder can catch up to them. Otherwise, if something happens to them, not only will 13th elder not be able to escape the punishment of the patriarch, even us patrolling warriors in this area will be implicated. The middle-aged man sighed repeatedly when he reached the end of his sentence. The gray-clad old man left the ancestral dragon plain and headed south. He searched every nook and cranny of the area, but he did not find his target. His expression darkened immediately. Ever since those 2 little fellows became celestial dukes, they've been trying to escape. I managed to stop them the previous few times. This time, I was distracted for a moment, and they managed to escape. I hope they're all right. Otherwise, how am I going to explain this to the clan leader? The gray-clad old man muttered to himself. His voice was filled with helplessness when he reached the end of his sentence. At the same time, tens of thousands of miles to the northeast of the gray-clad old man's location, the black and white bolts of lightning that were streaking across the sky slowed down. Then, 2 figures appeared. One of the figures was tall and the other was short. They were a young man and a young woman in white. The young man was wearing a long black robe. His resolute face was as sharp as a knife, emitting a cold aura. His eyes were expressionless. He was tall and sturdy, and he looked like a towering black iron tower. The other one was a white-clothed woman. She had a beautiful appearance, and her beautiful appearance revealed a heroic spirit. She gave people a feeling that she was not inferior to men. Apart from that, the young woman in white was also taller than an ordinary woman. She was 1.8 meters tall. However, she appeared petite when she stood in front of the young man in black who was almost 2 meters tall. Although the young woman's white robe was loose, it could not hide her proud figure. Her legs that were more than 1.8 meters long were especially eye-catching. "It seems like we've shaken off the old man." The young woman in white sighed in relief. Then, she looked at the young man in black and asked, "Little Black, have you contacted Little Gold?" The young man in black nodded. Then, his eyes flashed as he said, "She's already there. Let's go over now. She's more comfortable. Nobody's watching her. She can leave whenever she wants." The young woman in white muttered. Then, the young man in black moved together. They turned into 2 bolts of lightning, one black and one white, and headed toward the south. When the 2 of them were heading south, the 13th elder of the dragons who could not find them in the southwest was still searching for them. However, he did not know that they were already in the northeast. 3 days later, in the desert, an abandoned city was covered in yellow sand. One could vaguely see the ruins on the yellow sand. It gave off a lonely feeling. At this very moment, above the broken walls above the yellow sand, a graceful golden figure stood in the air. It was a young woman in golden clothes. She had an oval face. She did not wear any makeup, but she had an extraordinary appearance. She stood there as though everything around her paled in comparison. In addition, her slim figure was also very tall. She was about 1.75 meters tall, much taller than ordinary women. "They're here." Suddenly, the woman seemed to have noticed something. She suddenly narrowed her eyes and looked toward the north. There were 2 small black dots that were rapidly growing in size. They were rapidly approaching her. A moment later, the growing black dot turned into a young man in a black robe and a young woman in white. "Little White, Little Black." A beautiful smile bloomed on the woman's originally cold face when she saw them. At the same time, she rose into the air and quickly welcomed them. "Little Gold, long time no see. You've become prettier again. The woman in white smiled. Little White, don't just talk about me. You've become prettier too. I really don't understand. Little Black and you have the same mother. Why are you so beautiful and he's so ugly? As the golden-robed woman spoke, she looked at the black-robed young man beside the white-robed woman and rolled her eyes at him. The corner of the young man in black's mouth twitched when he heard the woman in golden clothes' words. He glared at her coldly. At the same time, the cold and indifferent aura that he had been emitting seemed to have faded a lot. Although you're prettier now, your chest is still so small. Those who don't know better would think you're a woman in disguise. The young man in black's voice was indifferent. As soon as he spoke, the woman in golden clothes' expression turned unsightly. Just as the woman in golden clothes was about to lose her temper, the woman in white stepped forward to mediate the situation. All right. Both of you haven't seen each other for so long. Why are you bickering as soon as you see each other? Don't forget why we're gathered here this time. When the white-clothed woman said the first sentence, the golden-clothed woman and the black-robed young man were still staring at each other. However, when they heard the white-clothed woman's second sentence, they both withdrew their gazes from each other. Little White, it's been so many years. Do you think Brother Ling Tian and Sister Kerr are still in the St. Province realm? The woman in golden clothes asked as she looked at the woman in white. It doesn't matter if Brother Ling Tian and Sister Kerr are still in the St. Province realm. We're already celestial dukes, so we don't have to worry about the secular karma in the mundane realm. The woman in white said. When the golden-clothed woman and the white-clothed woman mentioned the words Big Brother Ling Tian and Big Sister Ko, the depths of the black-robed young man's originally cold eyes were suffused with waves of gentleness. I'm afraid Brother Ling Tian and Sister Kerr won't be able to recognize us now. Chapter 3055. In the Spirit Overarching Heaven. In the profound Nether Mansions territory in the Southern Heaven territory. In the east of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, there was a vast grassland that spanned from 80,000 to 130,000 miles. In the east of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, there was a blue lake with a diameter of more than 1,000 meters on a grassland that was about 100,000 miles away from the Simplicity Celestial Sect. This lake was located in the middle of the grassland. It was like a mirror embedded in the grassland, reflecting the blue sky and white clouds in the sky, as well as the scorching sun. As if a gust of wind had blown past, a purple figure appeared in the air above the lake that was originally empty. The purple figure was none other than Duan Lingtian, who had rushed here from the Simplicity Celestial Sect. He looked to his left and right, but he did not see anyone around him. The reason Duan Lingtian was here was because of the letter he had received. Since the person who wrote the letter had invited him here, it was only a matter of time before he showed up. For this reason, Duan Lingtian was not in a hurry. He sat cross-legged in the air and continued to comprehend the law of fire's pillaging profundity with the help of the Chaos Divine Flame. With the help of the Chaos Divine Flame, his comprehension of the law of fire's pillaging profundity improved rapidly. At this rate, I'm sure I'll be able to comprehend the pillaging profundity within half a year. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Naturally, Duan Lingtian was referring to comprehending the pillaging profundity to the rudimentary stage. A king-grade celestial method that contained the pillaging profundity could only help him comprehend the pillaging profundity to the rudimentary stage. Although Duan Lingtian was comprehending the law of fire, his divine consciousness was constantly spreading out. As long as someone was near him, he would be able to detect it immediately and react in time unless the person's cultivation base was much higher than his. While Duan Lingtian was comprehending the law of fire above the lake, two people were busy in the Simplicity Celestial Sect. They were none other than Zheng Hongyi, the third direct disciple of the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, and Wang Hong, the granddaughter of the Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. At this moment, the two of them were making their way around the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate to make sure none of the Celestial Kings had left the sect. The reason why the two of them were doing this was because they wanted to cooperate with the Blood Skull Assassin. The assassin sent by the Blood Skull Gang was only one basic Celestial King. Although he was strong, There were many people in the Simplicity Celestial sect who were stronger than him. As a member of the Blood Skull Gang, it was only natural for him to be cautious. Therefore, when he learned that Duan Lingtian had left, he sent a message to Zheng Hongyi to confirm if anyone from the Simplicity Celestial sect had left. 3 days later, Zheng Hongyi and Wang Hong met. The people I went to look for are all in the sect's encampment. No one has left. Wang Hong said to Zheng Hongyi. Same here. Zheng Hongyi nodded. At the same time, he took out an immortal message talisman. Through the soul imprint in a soul pearl, he sent the message over. Senior, all the celestial kings and above who haven't left the sect's estate are all in the sect's estate. None of them have left. It seems like Duan Lingtian really didn't tell anyone about your invitation. These were the exact words Zheng Hongyi sent to the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. Then he continued to flatter the assassin. Senior, you're really amazing. Not only did you lure Duan Lingtian out of the sect's estate, but you even made sure he didn't dare to tell anyone about your invitation. All right. Unfortunately, Zheng Hongyi's flattery was destined to be in vain. After receiving Zheng Hongyi's message, the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang only responded with a faint grunt and then ignored Zheng Hongyi. It's time to make a move. The black-clad middle-aged man who was sitting cross-legged in the air suddenly rose to his feet. In the next moment, his eyes were filled with sharpness as he stared at the grassland. At the same time, his body emitted waves of frightening killing intent. He murmured to himself, "It seems like the information from the organization is correct. That woman is indeed very important to him." However, he really didn't tell anyone that he came here. Could it be that he couldn't see that the letter could be a great threat to him? Or perhaps, he thinks his life won't be in danger if he follows my instructions? What a naive brat. After muttering for a while, the black-clothed middle-aged man smiled coldly. Then, his entire body seemed to have turned into a bolt of lightning and directly swept into the grassland. The grassland was vast, and the sky was clear. A mirror-like lake could be seen in the middle of the grassland. It was like a pearl that had fallen from the sky, giving the grassland a unique sense of beauty. A purple-clad young man could be seen sitting cross-legged in the air above the lake. He seemed to be meditating, but one could vaguely see waves of heat pulsing around his body. If it was night instead of day, it would not be difficult to see the heat waves pulsating around his body, emitting a faint fiery red glow. It was the fire elemental profundity, the fire elemental profundity. The purple-clad young man was none other than Duan Lingtian. It had been a few days since Duan Lingtian arrived. He had been waiting for the person who had sent him the letter, but the person had yet to show up. However, since Duan Lingtian was comprehending the law of fire's pillaging profundity, time did not seem to pass too slowly. He's here. All of a sudden, Duan Lingtian, who was sitting cross-legged in the air, suddenly opened his eyes. He immediately stood up and looked at the sky in front of him warily. As soon as he looked in the direction of the sound, swoosh. At this moment, a black figure appeared like a ghost in the sky. It was a middle-aged man dressed in a long black robe. The middle-aged man was skinny and looked like a bag of bones. However, the murderous aura he exuded was enough to make one's heart palpitate. HM? As soon as the middle-aged man appeared, Duan Lingtian looked at the blood-red skull embroidered on the chest of the middle-aged man's black robe. The bloody skull was embroidered vividly, as if it was a real skull that was dyed with blood. It was hideous and terrifying. The Blood Skull Gang? Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow when he saw the middle-aged man's skinny face. Before he came to the Simplicity Celestial sect, he did not know about the Blood Skull Gang, let alone recognize the Blood Skull Gang symbol. However, after staying in the inner court of the Simplicity Celestial sect for a period of time, he learned a lot about the Southern Heaven Territory. He learned about the 3 strongest assassin organizations in the Southern Heaven Territory. One of the 3 strongest assassin organizations was the Blood Skull Gang. The assassins of the Blood Skull Gang wore the uniform of the Blood Skull Gang with the Blood Skull Gang's symbol on their chests. Apart from that, one could also tell the assassins' rank in the Blood Skull Gang by looking at the symbols on their chests. You're quite knowledgeable to recognize that I'm an assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. The middle-aged man stared at Duan Lingtian coldly as he said, "Duan Lingen, you're an assassin." Waves of shock surged in his heart when he saw the purple-clad young man. It seemed as though the purple-clad young man had already noticed his presence. This was inconceivable to him. After all, he was a one-basic celestial king while the purple-clad young man was only a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial. "Where's Huaner?" Duan Lingtian asked indifferently, ignoring the middle-aged man's cold gaze. "Huaner?" The middle-aged man was taken aback. Then he sneered and said, "There's no Huan. She's just a bait to lure you away from the Simplicity Celestial sect. It's just that I didn't expect you to come here on your own. It seems like that person is very important to you. Based on her name, she must be a woman, right? Today, a genius like you will die because of a woman." The middle-aged man's sneer deepened when he finished speaking. "So, you don't know where Huaner is?" Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow as he sighed in relief inwardly. "Didn't I tell you? It's just a bait." The middle-aged man sneered. "Although it's just a bait, the Blood Skull Gang's intelligence network is pretty good. To think you're aware of Huaner's existence and know how to lure me out." Duan Lingtian said indifferently. "Can you tell me who hired the Blood Skull Gang to kill me? Based on what I know, it's not easy to hire an assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. Not everyone is qualified to do so." Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at the middle-aged man. "You seem to know a lot." The middle-aged man looked at Duan Lingtian as though he was looking at a dead man. "Originally, since you're about to die, there's no harm in letting you know the reason before you die. Unfortunately, our Blood Skull has our own rules. You can only die with your curiosity and regret." As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, the air around him began to tremble as a majestic aura surged out of him. At the same time, a terrifying killing intent surged out of the middle-aged man's body. In the next moment, thush! In just a blink of an eye, the middle-aged man appeared in front of Duan Lingtian like a ghost. He raised his hand and threw a punch at Duan Lingtian. Blue celestial origin energy swirled around his fist. It was clear this was the celestial origin energy from the law of water's fundamental profundity, the water elemental profundity. Bang! His fist shot out like a roaring water dragon toward Duan Lingtian's head. It was clear the middle-aged man intended to kill Duan Lingtian with a single punch. However, the middle-aged man had a nonchalant expression on his face as though he was certain Duan Lingtian would be killed by his punch. However, in the next moment his gaze froze, and his expression changed drastically. Just as the middle-aged man's gaze froze and his expression changed drastically, a crisp sound rang out. It wasn't loud, but it scared the middle-aged man so much that he felt like his insides were about to split apart. Chapter 3056. The middle-aged man was completely dumbfounded. In fact, when Duan Lingtian recognized him as an assassin from the Blood Skull Gang and seemed to know a lot about the Blood Skull Gang, he had already sensed something was amiss when he saw Duan Lingtian was not afraid at all. However, when he recalled the message from Zheng Hongyi, an inner disciple of the Simplicity Celestial sect, and the fact that Duan Lingtian was just a transcender, he felt relieved. Duan Lingtian was most likely a reincarnated celestial who had regained his memories from his past life. However, so what? No matter how powerful Duan Lingtian was in his past life, he was only a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial now. How's this possible? The middle-aged man was shocked to discover that even after he cast the other profundities from the law of water, he still could not move Duan Lingtian's hand. Duan Lingtian remained motionless as he held the middle-aged man's hand. He allowed the middle-aged man's water elemental profundity to wreak havoc on his hand. Humph! Duan Lingtian snorted coldly as he raised his hand that was holding the middle-aged man's hand. In the next moment, rip! A tearing sound rang in the air as Duan Lingtian tore the middle-aged man's arm off and tossed it to the side. In just a blink of an eye, the middle-aged man's severed arm fell into the lake below, causing a splash. At the same time, a blood-red flower bloomed on the surface of the lake. The middle-aged man had the opportunity to pick up his severed arm, but he did not dare to do so. At this moment, The middle-aged man looked at Duan Lingtian as though he had seen a ghost. Aren't you a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial? How can you possess such powerful celestial origin energy? As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, his body blurred as he quickly distanced himself from Duan Lingtian. It was as though Duan Lingtian was a ferocious beast that would devour him. Earlier, when Duan Lingtian attacked, the middle-aged man had only sensed the aura of the earth elemental profundity in Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy. Apart from the earth elemental profundity, Duan Lingtian did not use any other techniques. The middle-aged man knew Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy was so powerful that the middle-aged man was unable to shake him. Even if the middle-aged man had Duan Lingtian's celestial profundity and used his one basic celestial profundity, he still would not be able to shake Duan Lingtian's Duan Lingtian. Although the celestial origin energy of a 10-direction celestial king is capable of suppressing me, it's not as strong as his celestial origin energy. It feels like his celestial origin energy has surpassed a celestial king's and is comparable to a celestial lord's. With this thought in mind, the middle-aged man knew he was no match for Duan Lingtian. At the very least, he was no match for Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian seems to have entered the lower realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm not too long ago. This means he's only an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. However, his celestial origin energy is comparable to a celestial lord's. This means he's relying on a powerful celestial talisman or a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon. Although his strength will continue to be depleted, it'll be easy for him to kill me before he runs out of energy. The middle-aged man figured out how Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy was comparable to a celestial lord's celestial origin energy. At this moment, there was only one thought in the middle-aged man's mind. Run! Alas, Duan Lingtian seemed to have expected the middle-aged man to flee. With a wave of his hand, his celestial origin energy that was boosted with the earth elemental profundity surged out. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy that was boosted with the earth elemental profundity whistled through the air and transformed into black pillars in just a blink of an eye. They swirled around the middle-aged man and formed a cage that trapped him. Although Duan Lingtian had only comprehended the basics of the law of Earth's gravitational space profundity, he was still able to cast the king-grade celestial method, the Black Rock Prison. Naturally, the gravitational space profundity was not that powerful. Currently, Duan Lingtian was relying on his celestial origin energy that was comparable to an ordinary celestial lord's. With his celestial origin energy that was boosted with the earth elemental profundity, even if he had only comprehended the basics of the gravitational space profundity, it was still extremely powerful. At the very least, the middle-aged man who was trapped in the Black Rock Prison was forced to bend over due to the gravitational force. Ah! The middle-aged man roared as his celestial origin energy that was boosted with the water elemental profundity surged out of his body. His celestial origin energy took on many different forms as he charged at the Black Rock Prison. I can't escape. I'm dead meat. At this moment, the middle-aged man's face was ashen. He knew he was going to die. As long as you tell me who hired you to kill me, I might spare your life. After all, you're just an assassin who has no enmity with me. You're just doing me a favor, Duan Lingtian said indifferently as he looked at the middle-aged man's ashen face. However, when the middle-aged man heard Duan Lingtian's words, he glanced at Duan Lingtian before a sneer appeared on his skinny face. In the next moment, Duan Lingtian saw the middle-aged man's body emitting a blue light. Then his body exploded, leaving behind a cloud of blood that dyed the Black Rock Prison red. A spatial ring and a set of armor fell to the ground. Did he commit suicide? Duan Lingtian frowned slightly, but soon after he cast it again. It was as though he had come to a realization. That's right. Since the Blood Skull Gang has such a reputation, it's impossible for their assassins to betray their employer. However, even though he's dead, his spatial ring was left behind. The Blood Skull Gang and the other powerful assassin organizations in the Southern Heaven Territory all have a rule. They'll take half of the deposit before they make a move. Perhaps, I'll be able to find the deposit in his spatial ring. Naturally, the person who hired me has to be from the profound nether mansion. However, if he's not from the profound nether mansion, he won't be able to recognize me, let alone kill me. Moreover, those from the profound nether mansion would only have prominent celestial crystals at most. An assassin organization like the Blood Skull Gang wouldn't care about prominent celestial crystals. In other words, the person who hired the Blood Skull Gang to kill me must have paid the Blood Skull Gang with something else instead of celestial crystals. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's thoughts changed rapidly. He thought of many things and even had his own speculations. Although some of the people I killed during my trip to the lower realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm came from extraordinary backgrounds, it's impossible for them to be certain I killed them even if they suspect me. It's impossible for them to go to the Blood Skull Gang to kill me just because they suspect me. In other words, the person who hired the Blood Skull Gang to kill me is most likely from the Simplicity Celestial Sect. With this thought in mind, a figure appeared in Duan Lingtian's mind. It was none other than Zheng Hongyi, the third direct disciple of the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect whom he had met when he first arrived in the Simplicity Celestial Sect. Based on what the inner disciples said, if I didn't show up, it's very likely Zheng Hongyi would take my spot as a true disciple. When I first met Zheng Hongyi, I could sense his jealousy and hostility toward me. Perhaps, he's the one who hired the Blood Skull Gang to kill me? However, is he capable of contacting the Blood Skull Gang and hiring the Blood Skull Gang to kill me? With these questions in mind, Duan Lingtian made his way back to the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate. When I return, I'll look for the sect leader and show him the items in that person's spatial ring. If they belong to Zheng Hongyi, the sect leader might be able to recognize them. Although Zheng Hongyi was the direct disciple of Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, Duan Lingtian knew Zheng Hongyi was only an ordinary direct disciple. Sun Liangpeng's other two direct disciples were also true disciples. Their innate talent far surpassed Zheng Hongyi's. This was one of the reasons Zheng Hongyi failed to become a true disciple. His innate talent was limited. Duan Lingtian believed that if it was really Zheng Hongyi who did it, Sun Liangpeng would surely give him an explanation and would not shield Zheng Hongyi. Sun Liangpeng would not hesitate to settle this matter in private. If he was an ordinary inner disciple of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, Sun Liangpeng might not even care about him. Of course, Duan Lingtian knew Sun Liangpeng was only a disciple of Sun Liangpeng. The only reason Sun Liangpeng was willing to give him an explanation was because he was extremely valuable to Sun Liangpeng. This could be seen from Sun Liangpeng's attitude when he first joined the Simplicity Celestial Sect. It was impossible for Sun Liangpeng to entertain ordinary people who entered the Simplicity Celestial Sect. While Duan Lingtian was on his way back to the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate, the Blood Skull Gang received a communication celestial talisman from the assassin who had just committed suicide in front of Duan Lingtian. The target is Duan Lingtian. Although he's a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial, he possesses a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon or a celestial talisman that allows him to possess the celestial origin energy of a celestial lord. Soon after the communication celestial talisman was sent to the Blood Skull Gang, Qin Li, who was the illegitimate son of one of the vice leaders of the Blood Skull Gang, received the news. What? Duan Lingtian possesses a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon or a celestial talisman that allows him to possess the celestial origin energy of a celestial lord. Qin Li was dumbfounded. He did not expect Duan Lingtian to have such a trump card. It seems like he's really a reincarnated celestial. Moreover, he wasn't an ordinary celestial in his past life. He must have regained his memories and obtained something from his past life. In Chen Li's opinion, the consumable royal-grade celestial weapon or a celestial talisman that allowed him to possess the celestial origin energy of a celestial lord must have been left behind by Duan Lingtian in his past life. It was highly likely that Duan Lingtian was a celestial lord in his past life. Chapter 3057. In the Simplicity Celestial Sect in the profound Nether Mansion's territory. Zheng Hongyi and Wang Hong sat at the same stone table in a quiet valley, waiting for the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang to return with news. Why is he taking so long? Wang Hong frowned. With his strength, it should be easy for him to kill Duan Lingtian. He should have returned by now. I think so too. Zheng Hongyi also felt that the Blood Skull Gang's assassin was too slow. Don't tell me he's still suspicious after I sent him the message and spent some time to confirm that Duan Lingtian didn't bring anyone with him? That's possible. Wang Hong nodded. Send him a message to hurry him up. Wang Hong said. Zheng Hongyi nodded. Wang Hong looked at Zheng Hongyi, waiting for him to send a message to the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. However, Zheng Hongyi's expression suddenly changed. What's wrong? Wang Hong frowned, but an ominous premonition faintly rose in her heart. He's dead, Zheng Hongyi said in a trembling voice. At the same time, his body also trembled slightly. His pupils shrank fiercely, as if he had discovered something shocking. What? Wang Hong was shocked by Zheng Hongyi's words. At this moment, she saw a shattered soul pearl in Zheng Hongyi's hand. At the same time, Zheng Hongyi continued to say, This is the soul pearl of the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. I used it to contact him. Dead? How's that possible? Wang Hong asked in disbelief. Don't tell me Duan Lingtian really sent a message to your master asking for help? Your master didn't send a powerhouse from the sect to make a move. Instead, he sent a powerhouse from outside the sect to make a move? This was the only thing Wang Hong could think of. Even in her wildest dreams, she did not expect the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang to be killed by Duan Lingtian. I don't know. Zheng Hongyi shook his head. He was still in a daze. It took him a long time to regain his senses. Contact that Chen. The Blood Skull's assassin organization will definitely know about the death of the Blood Skull's assassin. In addition, that assassin had most likely sent a message back before he died. Wang Hong calmed down before Zheng Hongyi, reminding Zheng Hongyi at the right time. Hearing this, Zheng Hongyi immediately took out another soul pearl and used an immortal message talisman to contact the owner of the soul imprint on the soul pearl. The owner of the soul pearl was none other than the illegitimate son of the vice leader of the Blood Skull Gang, Chen Li. Young Master Chen, the soul orb of the Blood Skull's assassin has shattered. He's probably dead. Zheng Hongyi went straight to the point and asked, Do you have any news from him? After the transmission, Zheng Hongyi and Wang Hong waited together. Zheng Hongyi, do you think that Blood Skull assassin killed Duan Lingtian before he died? Wang Hong looked at Zheng Hongyi and asked. I don't know. Zheng Hongyi shook his head. We have to wait for young Master Chen's reply to find out what happened before the Blood Skull Gang assassin died. We can only hope that the assassin managed to send a message back to the Blood Skull Gang before he was killed. After Zheng Hongyi finished speaking, he continued to wait. Wang Hong nodded. She did not say anything and continued to wait. As time passed, Zheng Hongyi and Wang Hong's expressions gradually turned solemn. It's here. Suddenly, Zheng Hongyi's eyes lit up. Wang Hong's eyes lit up as well as she looked at Zheng Hongyi. In the next moment, he saw Zheng Hongyi's face suddenly sink. At the same time, his eyes flickered, and then his face became even more uncertain. What's wrong? Wang Hong asked. However, Zheng Hongyi did not reply to her. He was still immersed in the shock that Chen Li's message had brought to him. Zheng Hongyi, the Blood Skull Gang's assassin, has failed. According to the Blood Skull Gang's rules, the mission will continue, but the reward will be halved. The assassin who failed has already received half of the original payment as a deposit. This is the full payment for this mission. You don't need to pay anything else. As for Duan Lingtian, the Blood Skull Gang will continue to send assassins to deal with him. However, if necessary, we'll seek your help. This was Chen Li's message to Zheng Hongyi. Young Master Chen, do you know who killed the assassin? Was it a powerhouse from the Simplicity Celestial sect? Zheng Hongyi asked as soon as he heard Chen Li's message. No, Chen Li replied indifferently. You don't need to know how he died. All you need to know is that we, the Blood Skull, will continue with this mission. That's all you need to know. Zheng Hongyi's expression darkened when he heard Chen Li's words. However, he did not dare to ask any questions. Zheng Hongyi, did young Master Chen reply to you? Wang Hong asked again. Yes. At this moment, Zheng Hongyi finally regained his senses and nodded. Young Master Chen said that the assassin had failed. However, the Blood Skull Gang will continue to send assassins until Duan Lingtian is dead. Failed? Wang Hong's expression darkened. Did he say how he failed? Is the person who killed the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang a celestial king from the Simplicity Celestial sect? I asked him about this, but he didn't say anything. He only told me that the Blood Skull Gang will continue to send assassins until Duan Lingtian is dead, Zheng Hongyi said. Wang Hongyi nodded. Then he looked at Wang Hong and said, Don't worry. Even if the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang is killed, he won't reveal our identities. Naturally, I believe in the reputation of the Blood Skull Gang. Wang Hong looked at Zheng Hongyi with a faint smile on her face as she said, Zheng Hongyi, as far as I know, there's a rule in the Blood Skull Gang. If an assassin fails the first time, even if they continue to send assassins, their reward will be halved, right? Wang Hong looked at Zheng Hongyi meaningfully as she spoke. Upon hearing Wang Hong's words, Zheng Hongyi knew he would have to pay a price no matter what. He sighed inwardly before he took out 2 purely defensive king-grade celestial weapons and gave them to Wang Hong. Wang Hong accepted the king-grade celestial weapons with a satisfied expression on her face. Wang Hong, young Master Chen, said that it's very likely that the Blood Skull's assassins will ask for our help. If you don't want to be involved in this matter, return the 2 king-grade celestial weapons to me. I'll cooperate with them. Zheng Hongyi's heart ached for the 2 king-grade celestial weapons. However, Wang Hong merely scoffed when she heard Zheng Hongyi's words. Zheng Hongyi, the Blood Skull Gang won't betray me, and it's impossible for you to betray me as well. Why don't you cooperate with them to kill Duan Lingtian to the best of your ability? Wang Hong said as she put the 2 king-grade celestial weapons away. Wang Hong, if I'm not mistaken, Zheng Hongyi's expression changed drastically as though he had just recalled something. The purely defensive king-grade celestial weapon you gave to the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang was obtained by the Grand Elder from the profound Nether Mansion, right? HM? Wang Hong looked at Zheng Hongyi in confusion. She did not know why Zheng Hongyi's expression changed so drastically. Since the assassin is dead, there's a high chance that his spatial ring was taken by the person who killed him. If that person is a celestial king from the Simplicity Celestial sect, he might be able to recognize the Grand Elder's king-grade celestial weapon after discovering the king-grade celestial weapon inside, right? Zheng Hongyi said in a deep voice as he looked at Wang Hong solemnly. Upon hearing Zheng Hongyi's words, Wang Hong's expression changed drastically. She realized how serious this matter was. The king-grade celestial weapon she had given to the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang was a celestial weapon her grandfather had given her. Most of the celestial kings in the Simplicity Celestial sect knew her grandfather possessed a king-grade celestial weapon. Wang Hong, I feel that you should discuss this matter with your grandfather. If this matter is exposed, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for you to get out of this without your grandfather's help. Zheng Hongyi said in a slightly flustered manner. If Wang Hong failed to get out of this matter, based on her personality, she would definitely drag him into this matter as well. This was something he did not want to see. I'll go look for my grandfather now. As soon as Zheng Hongyi finished speaking, Wang Hong flew up into the air to look for her grandfather, the Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial sect. I didn't expect there to be so many twists and turns in the process of killing a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial. If the assassin is really a celestial king from the Simplicity Celestial sect, he would have reported this matter to Master by now, right? After Wang Hong left, Zheng Hongyi's expression turned even grimmer. Meanwhile, after Duan Lingtian returned to the Simplicity Celestial sect's estate, he immediately went to look for Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial sect. Duan Ling, is there a reason you're looking for me? Sun Liangpeng asked. Sect leader. Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed as he told Sun Liangpeng about his encounter with the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. What? The Blood Skull Gang? Sun Liangpeng's expression changed drastically when he heard Duan Lingtian had been lured out by the Blood Skull Gang. Moreover, the Blood Skull Gang had tried to kill Duan Lingtian. "Why didn't you tell me?" Sun Liangpeng asked. "I was worried that Huan was really in his hands. If I told you about it, it'd be very likely that Huan would be in danger." Duan Lingtian replied. "What happened after that?" Sun Liangpeng asked again. Although he was worried for Duan Lingtian, since Duan Lingtian had returned safely, it meant Duan Lingtian was not in any danger. After that. Chapter 3058. What? Although Sun Liangpeng was the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial sect, he was still shocked by Duan Lingtian's words. Someone had hired the Blood Skull Gang to kill Duan Lingtian, and the Blood Skull Gang's assassins had come to kill Duan Lingtian. He could not help but feel worried for Duan Lingtian. When he learned that Duan Lingtian had escaped from the Blood Skull Gang's assassins, he assumed someone had saved Duan Lingtian at the critical moment. However, he did not expect Duan Lingtian to say he was the one who had killed the Blood Skull Gang's assassins. Based on his knowledge, the Blood Skull Gang was one of the top 3 assassin organizations in the Southern Heaven Territory. Even the weakest assassin in the organization was a basic celestial king. Moreover, since the Blood Skull Gang was a grade 5 force, they did not lack king-grade celestial methods or divine abilities. Most of the basic celestial kings in the Blood Skull Gang had comprehended many profundities from the law. They were much stronger than most of the basic celestial kings in the profound Nether Mansion. "Duan Lingtian, why you're not joking, right?" Sun Liangpeng gasped as he looked at Duan Lingtian. After a long time, he finally spoke again. "Sect leader, there's no need for me to joke about this." Duan Lingtian shrugged. At the same time, with a single thought, a powerful divine sense extended out and enveloped Sun Liangpeng's body, intentionally allowing Sun Liangpeng to discover it. Swoosh! As soon as Duan Lingtian's divine consciousness shrouded Sun Liangpeng, Sun Liangpeng's expression changed drastically. At this moment, he felt as if he was enveloped by a terrifying aura, and he was like a lone boat in the boundless ocean, completely helpless and in danger of capsizing at any moment. This is the divine consciousness of a 10 Directions celestial king? The divine consciousness that shrouded Sun Liangpeng's body was so powerful that it caused his heart to palpitate. However, this was not his first time facing a divine consciousness of this level. He remembered one of the Vice Mansion Masters of the profound Nether Mansion had used his divine consciousness to suppress him. Just when Sun Liangpeng was looking at Duan Lingtian in disbelief and shock, he found that the divine sense that enveloped him had been withdrawn. Moreover, he could clearly feel it. The divine sense withdrew into Duan Lingtian's body. "Duan Ling, you? How can you have such a powerful divine sense?" Sun Liangpeng asked in shock. "What if I told you that my divine sense was even stronger when I killed that Blood Skull assassin? What would you say, Sect Master?" Duan Lingtian looked deeply at Sun Liangpeng and said, "Stronger than now? Then, isn't your divine sense comparable to the divine sense of a celestial lord?" Sun Liangpeng was even more shocked now. At the same time, a thought appeared in his mind. "Don't tell me you have a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon?" Although some powerful celestial talismans could temporarily boost one's celestial origin energy and divine sense to the level of a celestial lord, it did not last long. Moreover, once the duration of the celestial talisman was up, the celestial origin energy and divine sense would dissipate, and the user would revert to his original state. However, it was a different story if it was a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon. Whether it was the user's celestial origin energy or divine sense, they could be continuously depleted. During the depletion process, the user's cultivation base that was stronger than the user's cultivation base would constantly weaken. For example, Duan Lingtian's divine sense. Duan Lingtian's divine sense was comparable to a 10 Directions celestial king's. If he said his divine sense was stronger than now, it would only be comparable to a celestial lord's. It was obvious he was using a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon. "Isn't it obvious?" Duan Lingtian asked. Sun Liangpeng was stunned when he heard Duan Ling Tian's question. When he regained his senses, he asked, Duan Ling Tian, did you obtain the consumable royal-grade celestial weapon in the lower realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm? Duan Ling Tian shook his head. I obtained it elsewhere. How many times can you use it? Sun Liangpeng asked curiously. Upon hearing Sun Liangpeng's words, Duan Lingtian's expression darkened immediately. I've used it up this time. He did not plan to tell Sun Liangpeng that the consumable royal-grade celestial weapon could only be used once. Who knew if Sun Liangpeng would be tempted by it? A consumable royal-grade celestial weapon was extremely tempting even for a sect leader of a 7th-grade sect like Sun Liangpeng. After all, it would allow him to possess divine consciousness and celestial origin energy that were comparable to a celestial lord's for a short period of time. Duan Lingtian, you're being too extravagant. You should have sent me a message. I could have hidden in the dark to protect you. Since the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang only targeted you, I'm sure he's not as strong as I am. Sun Liangpeng smiled bitterly. He felt Duan Lingtian was being too extravagant. He had to use the consumable royal-grade celestial weapon just for this matter. Moreover, it was the consumable royal-grade celestial weapon's last use. What if the person who hired the Blood Skull Gang to assassinate me is from the Simplicity Celestial Sect? If he comes to your place, it won't be difficult for him to discover your absence. Duan Lingtian said as he looked at Sun Liangpeng meaningfully. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Sun Liangpeng's expression changed drastically. Duan Lingtian, based on your words, you suspect someone from the Simplicity Celestial Sect hired the Blood Skull Gang to assassinate you? It's not impossible. Duan Lingtian said. Do you have any proof? Sun Liangpeng's eyes flashed coldly. If someone from the Simplicity Celestial Sect really hired the assassin to assassinate Duan Lingtian, he would not let the assassin off so easily. Duan Lingtian shook his head. Then, have you had any conflicts with anyone since you came to the Simplicity Celestial Sect? Sun Liangpeng asked again. I haven't had any conflicts with anyone. However, I'm afraid my arrival here has affected some people's interests. Duan Lingtian said, it's not impossible for someone to hire an assassin to assassinate me. Prophet? Sun Liangpeng was confused. You've just joined the Simplicity Celestial Sect. Who would you have a conflict of interest with? A true disciple. Duan Lingtian stared at Sun Liangpeng and enunciated every word clearly. Sun Liangpeng's eyes widened slightly when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Then, he said bluntly, that's a conflict of interest. However, even if you didn't come, there are only 3 people who are qualified to be a true disciple. First is my direct disciple, Zheng Hongyi. The threshold for hiring an assassin from the Blood Skull Gang is very high. He's not qualified to hire an assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. Second is Wang Hong. She's the granddaughter of the Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. However, she's also not qualified to hire an assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. The last one is Zhuang Fan. He has a mysterious origin. Even the Simplicity Celestial Sect hasn't investigated him thoroughly. The Grand Elder once wanted to take him in as a disciple, but he rejected the offer. Sun Liangpeng said. Mysterious origin? Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow. Does this mean Zhuang Fan is the one who hired the Blood Skull Gang to kill me? That's not necessarily the case. Although Zhuang Fan has a mysterious origin, he's not as enthusiastic about becoming a true disciple as my direct disciple and the Grand Elder's granddaughter, Wang Hong. Sun Liangpeng said. Then he added, naturally, that doesn't exclude the possibility of Zhuang Fan pretending not to be interested in becoming a true disciple. At the same time, Sun Liangpeng seemed to have recalled something. He looked at Duan Lingtian and said, the Blood Skull Gang is one of the top assassin organizations in the Southern Heaven Territory. They'll collect half of the payment as a deposit before they make a move. If one of them is the one who hired the Blood Skull Gang, they must have paid a deposit. The Blood Skull Gang doesn't care about prominent celestial crystals. However, prominent celestial crystals are the most popular high-quality celestial crystals in the profound Nether Mansion. Sun Liangpeng paused for a moment before he continued, therefore, I'm guessing that if one of the three of them really went to the Blood Skull Gang to kill you, the deposit they paid must be something precious. At the very least, it's a king-grade celestial weapon. It's even possible that it's a king-grade celestial weapon that has been nurtured by a celestial lord. Sun Liangpeng said. A king-grade celestial weapon that has been nurtured by a celestial lord? Is my life really that valuable? Duan Lingtian was slightly taken aback. Although he had a few king-grade celestial weapons that had been nurtured by celestial lords, he was only a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial. His life should not be that valuable, right? The Blood Skull Gang is one of the top assassin organizations in the Southern Heaven Territory. It's only natural for them to charge a higher price than ordinary assassin organizations. Moreover, they came all the way here. Sun Liangpeng continued to say. It was clear Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial sect, knew a lot about the Blood Skull Gang. This is the assassin's spatial ring. With a raise of his hand, Duan Lingtian retrieved the assassin's spatial ring from his spatial ring. At the same time, he poured out the contents of the spatial ring. In just a blink of an eye, the front yard of Sun Liangpeng's residence was filled with items. It was as messy as a garbage dump. Sect leader, please take a look and see if there's anything familiar here. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Sun Liangpeng finally regained his senses. He quickly scanned the items on the ground. HM? Sun Liangpeng's eyes widened slightly when he saw one of the items on the ground. Although it was barely noticeable, Duan Lingtian still noticed it. Even if Sun Liangpeng tried to hide it, it was too late. Sect leader, it seems like you've recognized something. Duan Lingtian said with a faint smile on his face as Sun Liangpeng looked at the items on the ground. Chapter 3059. A helpless and bitter smile appeared on Sun Liangpeng's face when he saw Duan Lingtian picking up the rattan armor that emitted a green light. This seems to be a purely defensive king-grade celestial weapon that has been nurtured by a celestial lord. A sneer appeared on Duan Lingtian's face when he discovered the rattan armor was a purely defensive king-grade celestial weapon that had been nurtured by a celestial lord. I can't believe the person who hired the Blood Skull Gang to kill me is a king-grade celestial weapon. Sect leader, you're not going to pretend that you don't recognize this king-grade celestial weapon, right? Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at Sun Liangpeng meaningfully. This king-grade celestial weapon belongs to the Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial sect, Wang Qianzhan. Naturally, I only know he has this king-grade celestial weapon. I'm not sure if he gave it to anyone else. Sun Liangpeng replied. The Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial sect, Wang Qianzhan? Duan Lingtian raised his brows. I remember. Sect leader, you seem to have said earlier that if I didn't appear, one of the three people most likely to seize the position of a true disciple that I have now is the Grand Elder's granddaughter, Wang Hong. Can I take it that the Grand Elder was the one who gave the king-grade celestial weapon to Wang Hong? As for Wang Hong, she gave it to the Blood Skull as a reward for killing me. After all, if the Grand Elder wanted to kill me, he wouldn't have asked someone else to do it. If he really wanted to kill me, he could have done it himself. Duan Lingtian looked at Sun Liangpeng and explained his analysis word by word. There's no way it's the Grand Elder. Sun Liangpeng said decisively. However, it's highly unlikely that it's Wang Hong. After all, if she wanted to kill you, she could have asked the Grand Elder to do it. Why would she go to the trouble of hiring someone from the Blood Skull Gang? Why don't you come with me? We'll go find the Grand Elder and ask him who he gave the jade light armor to. As soon as Sun Liangpeng finished speaking, he beckoned Duan Lingtian over to look for the Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial sect. Before leaving with Sun Liangpeng, Duan Lingtian raised his hand and put the pile of things back into his storage ring. After all, these were the spoils of war left behind by the one basic celestial king of the Blood Skull Gang. Many of them were extremely valuable. Naturally, he would not throw them away. Apart from the jade light armor, there were also a few purely defensive king-grade celestial weapons that had been nurtured by celestial lords. Apart from the jade light armor, there were also a few king-grade celestial weapons left behind by the Blood Skull Gang's assassins. There were even more king-grade celestial weapons. Wang Qianzhan, the Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. Based on his name, it was easy to imagine a muscular figure. However, Wang Qianzhan himself was extremely thin. If he were even thinner, he would be nothing more than skin and bones. Ever since Duan Lingtian had arrived in the Simplicity Celestial Sect, apart from the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang, he had never seen anyone skinnier than Wang Qianzhan. Sect leader. As the Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, he immediately bowed and greeted Sun Liangpeng. At the same time, he instinctively looked at the purple-clad young man standing next to Sun Liangpeng. Grand Elder. Sun Liangpeng greeted Wang Qianzhan with a smile on his face. Then, he introduced Duan Lingtian to Wang Qianzhan. This is Duan Lingtian. I'm sure you've heard of him, Grand Elder. Of course, I've heard of him. With Duan Lingtian's achievements at such a young age, he's definitely a rare genius in the profound Nether Mansion. It's a blessing for the Simplicity Celestial Sect to have him join us, Wang Qianzhan said as he nodded at Duan Lingtian with a smile on his face. Grand Elder. Duan Lingtian greeted Wang Qianzhan. Then, without any warning, he took out a rattan armor that shone with a green light. Sun Liangpeng was taken aback by Duan Lingtian's actions. Jade light armor. Wang Qianzhan exclaimed in surprise as soon as Duan Lingtian took out the rattan armor. Then, he looked at Duan Lingtian curiously and asked, Duan Lingnan, how did you obtain this jade light armor? I remember. I used it to exchange for some rare materials to inscribe celestial talismans before I left the profound Nether Mansion 3 years ago. Wang Qianzhan replied. As soon as Duan Lingtian took out the rattan armor, he stared at Wang Qianzhan intently, hoping to find some clues from Wang Qianzhan's expression. Alas, he did not notice anything amiss. It was as though Wang Qianzhan was truly shocked by the appearance of the jade light armor. Grand Elder, are you sure you gave away this jade light armor 3 years ago? Sun Liangpeng asked. Wang Qianzhan nodded immediately. I remember it very clearly. At that time, I exchanged for more than 10 rare materials to inscribe celestial talismans. Duan Lingnan, are you acquainted with the sectless cultivator who exchanged for the materials to inscribe celestial talismans with me? Wang Qianzhan looked at Duan Lingtian in shock before he continued to say, if that's the case, it seems like we're fated to meet. Grand Elder, do you have any evidence to prove that you gave away this jade light armor 3 years ago? Moreover, you exchanged it for materials to inscribe celestial talismans with a sectless cultivator. Duan Lingtian looked at Wang Qianzhan calmly and asked in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. Evidence? Wang Qianzhan frowned. I don't have any. However, I'm certain the jade light armor in your hand is the same as the one I had in the past. The veins and auras on it are identical. Most king-grade celestial weapons were unique. Even for king-grade celestial weapons that looked similar to each other, if one were to look closely, one would be able to see the differences in the inscriptions and auras on them. Could it be that Wang Qianzhan isn't lying? After a long time, Duan Lingtian could not help but speculate inwardly. Or perhaps, the sect leader had secretly sent a message to Wang Qianzhan on the way here so Wang Qianzhan was prepared for this? If Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, was cooperating with Wang Qianzhan, then it would be impossible for him to track down the person who hired the Blood Skull Gang to assassinate him. Grand Elder. At this moment, Sun Liangpeng opened his mouth and told Wang Qianzhan the whole story with a solemn expression. He told Sun Liangpeng about the jade light armor that Duan Lingtian had obtained from the Blood Skull Gang's assassin spatial ring. What? Blood Skull Gang? A consumable royal-grade celestial weapon? While Sun Liangpeng was speaking, Wang Qianzhan was frightened. His expression changed constantly, giving people a feeling of uncertainty. If Wang Qianzhan was lying to me, with his acting skills, he's definitely an award-winning actor on Earth. Duan Lingtian thought to himself as he looked at Wang Qianzhan calmly. If that's the case, it's very likely that the jade light armor was obtained from the sectless cultivator who traded with the Grand Elder 3 years ago. Sun Liangpeng speculated. That should be the case. Wang Qianzhan nodded. Then he looked at Duan Lingtian with a pained expression on his face as he said, Duan Lingyan, even if you were worried that the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang would kidnap your friend, you should have informed the sect leader. If you were worried that the sect leader and the other celestial kings in the sect's estate would be exposed, you could have asked the sect leader to send a message to the celestial kings outside the sect to help you. There's no need for you to use a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon. Even if he's an assassin from the Blood Skull Gang, it's not worth it for a one basic celestial king. It was clear Wang Qianzhan felt sorry for Duan Lingtian for using a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon. Earlier, Sun Liangpeng had only said that Duan Lingtian was worried that someone from the Simplicity Celestial Sect had hired the Blood Skull Gang. He did not mention that Wang Hong, Wang Qianzhan's granddaughter, was the prime suspect. For this reason, Wang Qianzhan's emotions did not fluctuate at all from the beginning until the end. It seems like I've come for nothing. Duan Lingtian casually bade farewell to the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect and the Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial Sect before he left indifferently and returned to his courtyard. Regardless of whether Wang Qianzhan was lying or not, Duan Lingtian did not have any evidence to prove that Wang Hong had paid the Jade Light armor to the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. However, if I find out in the future that Wang Hong really paid the Jade Light armor to the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang, Wang Qianzhan, since you're protecting your granddaughter today, I'll make sure you and your granddaughter die a graveless death. When he returned to the cultivation courtyard, the killing intent in Duan Lingtian's eyes was awe-inspiring, as if he was about to devour someone. If he did not possess a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon, he would not have been a match for the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. For this reason, he was eager to find out who had hired the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang to kill him. His target was Wang Hong, the granddaughter of Wang Qianzhan, the Grand Elder of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. Once he had evidence, he would not let this matter rest. Meanwhile, not long after Duan Lingtian left, Sun Liangpeng also left Wang Qianzhan's residence. At the same time, Wang Qianzhan sent a message to his granddaughter, Wang Hong, informing her of Duan Lingtian and Sun Liangpeng's visit. Not only that, but he also told her about the details. Meanwhile, Wang Hong was shocked when she received Wang Qianzhan's message. The one basic celestial king from the Blood Skull Gang was killed by Duan Lingtian? He actually has a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon? Wang Hong was completely dumbfounded. Not even in her wildest dreams did she expect this. When Wang Hong told Zheng Hongyi about this, Zheng Hongyi was shocked as well. Duan Lingtian actually has a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon that allows him to possess cultivation base and divine consciousness that's comparable to a celestial lord? Similar to Wang Hong, Zheng Hongyi also did not expect this. Chapter 3060. Who's Duan Lingtian? He even has a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon. Whether it was Zheng Hongyi or Wang Hong, they were both very shocked by this. Zheng Hongyi, do you think Duan Lingtian is the reincarnation of a powerful celestial lord? Is his consumable royal-grade celestial weapon one of the treasures he left behind in his past life? Wang Hong sent a message to Zheng Hongyi, telling him her guess. At the same time, she wanted to hear Zheng Hongyi's opinion. That's very likely. Zheng Hongyi agreed with Wang Hongyi's words. It's a pity we're too weak. Otherwise, we'd be able to kill him and have everything he owns. Wang Hong continued to say. Her voice was filled with greed. I don't have a chance to obtain his things. However, if you want them, you might have a chance. Zheng Hongyi said. I have a chance? Wang Hong was taken aback. So long as the Grand Elder is willing to kill Duan Lingtian, everything that belongs to Duan Lingtian will become the Grand Elder's spoils of war. The Grand Elder only has you as his relative, so he will surely not be stingy towards you. Zheng Hongyi's voice was filled with temptation. Duan Lingtian returned to his courtyard. Not long after he entered his room, he received another message from Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. Duan Lingtian, the Blood Skull Gang's assassin, has failed. According to the Blood Skull Gang's rules, they'll take the client's deposit as their reward. If the client doesn't have to pay, they'll send another assassin to kill you. For this reason, it's best if you don't leave the Simplicity Celestial Sex estate in the future. Even if you want to leave, you must remind me so I can send someone to protect you. Sun Liangpeng's tone was solemn when he spoke. It was clear he was wary of the Blood Skull Gang. Thank you, sect leader. Although Duan Lingtian knew the Blood Skull Gang would not let him off so easily, he still thanked Sun Liangpeng for reminding him. Previously, when he was in the Simplicity Celestial Sect, he learned that the Blood Skull Gang had such a rule. My cultivation base is still at the level of a 10 Directions Celestial King after I killed the Blood Skull Gang's assassin. However, my comprehension of the profundities from the law of 10 Directions Celestial King is still lacking. Even if I'm just a 5 Elements Celestial King, I'm afraid I won't be a match for him if I don't use the 7 Orifices Exquisite Sword. I won't be able to defeat him without the 7 Orifices Exquisite Sword. Duan Lingtian thought. Comprehending the profundities from the law had greatly increased. Was a Celestial King comprehension Celestial King was a Celestial King was? Duan's for now is a realm Celestial King comprehension Celestial realms that's as long as they's eyes, as long as they's not too strong a's, they's is, they that's? With this thought in mind, Duan Lingdan immersed himself in comprehending the law of fire's pillaging profundity. With the help of the primal chaos divine flame, his progress was extremely fast. Just as Duan Lingtian was immersed in his comprehension of the laws of fire. At this moment, a black figure appeared at the edge of the profound Nether Mansion's territory. In just a few moments, the black figure entered the depths of the profound Nether Mansion's territory. I really don't know what the organization is thinking. They actually want me to do it personally. Is there a need to be so careful? He's a 10 Directions Celestial King who has comprehended 2 profundities from the law of Earth. With such strength, even a 4 Phenomenon Celestial King would be able to kill him easily. Needless to say, the black figure was making his way to the Simplicity Celestial Sex estate. As he muttered to himself, it was obvious that his identity was exposed. An assassin from the Blood Skull. Let alone a 4 Phenomenon Celestial King, even a 3 Talents Celestial King from the Blood Skull Gang had comprehended more profundities than a 1 Basic Celestial King. It was not difficult for a 4 Phenomenon Celestial King from the Blood Skull Gang to kill a 10 Directions Celestial King who had only comprehended 2 profundities from the law of Earth. If they want a 6 Combo Celestial King like me to kill him, he'll definitely die unless he has comprehended 4 or more profundities from the law of Earth. The words of the black figure were filled with confidence. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian was unaware that the Blood Skull Gang had sent a 6 Combo Celestial King to kill him. He did not know that the Blood Skull Gang had sent a 6 Combo Celestial King to kill him. The strength of a 6 Combo Celestial King from the Blood Skull Gang was not inferior to a leader of a Grade 7 force even if they were to fight openly. For this reason, the assassin was displeased that the organization had sent him here. He felt the organization was wasting his talents. A month later, in the Simplicity Celestial Sex estate, in the valley where the inner and true disciples' courtyards were located, a figure flew out of one of the inner disciples' courtyards. As soon as this person came out, many of the surrounding inner disciples saw him and greeted him warmly and respectfully. Senior Zheng. Senior Zheng. The inner disciple was none other than Zheng Hongyi, the 3rd direct disciple of the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. It's only been a month, but the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang is already here? The previous assassin from the Blood Skull Gang took a few months to arrive, right? It seems like this assassin's cultivation base is much higher than the one from the Blood Skull Gang. That's true. After all, I've already warned young Master Chen that Duan Lingtian didn't use a celestial talisman to kill the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. His current cultivation base is comparable to a 10 Directions Celestial King. However, it's impossible for the Blood Skull Gang to send a 10 Directions Celestial King. Although Duan Lingtian is as strong as a 10 Directions Celestial King with the help of a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon, his comprehension of the profundities of the laws is extremely weak. He has only comprehended 2 profundities, and one of them is the fundamental profundity. I'm afraid the Blood Skull Gang only needs to send a 3-talent Celestial King or 4 phenomenons Celestial King to kill him. The profundities they've comprehended aren't any weaker than the elders of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. It only took a month for the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang to arrive. That assassin is at least a 3-talents Celestial King. A hint of excitement could be seen in Zheng Hongyi's eyes as he left the valley. At the same time, he glanced at one of the true disciples' cultivation courtyards as a cold smile appeared on his face. Duanling, you don't have long to live. Unless you're a coward and continue to hide in the sect's estate. Otherwise, you'll definitely die if you leave the sect. Zheng Hongyi sneered inwardly. The cultivation courtyard Zheng Hongyi was looking at was none other than Duan Lingtian's cultivation courtyard. This time, Zheng Hongyi had left the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate alone to meet the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. He did not inform Wang Hong about this. Just like the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang last time, this time, the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang came because Chen Li, the son of the deputy leader of the Blood Skull Gang, had contacted him and asked him to go to an agreed place where he could meet the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. Previously, he had brought Wang Hong to meet the assassin so she could pay the deposit. This time, there was no need for him to pay anything. Naturally, he could not be bothered to inform Wang Hong. Senior. In a secluded valley, Zheng Hongyi met the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. The assassin was a middle-aged man with a medium build. The middle-aged man was dressed in the black robes of the Blood Skull Gang. He looked ordinary, but his eyes seemed to be constantly flickering with a cold light. When his gaze fell on Zheng Hongyi felt his scalp go numb. I'll think of a way to lure the target out. Naturally, if you're able to lure the target out, the Blood Skull Gang won't mistreat you. We'll give you 10 bottles of Duke-grade pills. The middle-aged man said as he glanced at Zheng Hongyi indifferently. Although Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, was the only person who was stronger than him, it would not be easy for Sun Liangpeng to kill him. If he barged into the Simplicity Celestial Sect, he was confident he could kill Duan Lingtian and escape unscathed after killing Duan Lingtian. However, he did not dare to do that. Although the Simplicity Celestial Sect was only a grade 7 sect, it was a vassal force of the Profound Nether Mansion. If he did that, the Profound Nether Mansion would not let him off the hook. Even if he killed Duan Lingtian while concealing his identity as an assassin from the Blood Skull Gang, it would be difficult for him to leave the Profound Nether Mansion's territory. This was because the Profound Nether Mansion had set up a special formation in the 3 sects and 2 clans' territories. As long as one stayed in the territories of the 3 sects and 2 clans for a short period of time, an indelible mark would be left on one's body. Through the mark, the Profound Nether Mansion would be able to track him down. At that time, the inspectors of the Profound Nether Mansion would be able to find him and kill him. For this reason, he could only wait for Duan Lingtian to leave the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate. 10 bottles of Duke-grade pills? Zheng Hongyi's eyes lit up when he heard the middle-aged man's words. The Duke-grade pills were similar to the overarching heaven pills used by overarching heavenly supreme celestials. However, the Duke-grade pills were much more valuable than the overarching heaven pills. Although Zheng Hongyi was the 3rd direct disciple of the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, he would only use the Duke-grade pills when he was at a critical juncture. Now, he had a chance to obtain 10 bottles of Duke-grade pills. In the Devata realms, a standard bottle of Duke-grade pills would contain 10 Duke-grade pills. For this reason, 10 bottles of Duke-grade pills were equivalent to 100 Duke-grade pills. After exchanging soul pearls with the middle-aged man, Zheng Hongyi turned around and returned to the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate. On the way back to the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate, Zheng Hongyi was still unable to calm down. The temptation of 10 bottles of Duke-grade pills was just too great. Chapter 3061. After Zheng Hongyi returned to the Simplicity Celestial Sect, he had been keeping an eye on Duan Lingtian's cultivation courtyard. While he was paying attention to Duan Lingtian, he was also trying to come up with a plan to lure Duan Lingtian away from the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate. However, as time passed, he still could not come up with a plan. It seems like I'm not fated to obtain the 10 bottles of Duke-grade pills, Zheng Hongyi sighed inwardly. At the same time, Duan Lingtian was comprehending the law of fire's pillaging profundity in his room in his courtyard. With the help of the chaos divine flame, his speed of comprehending the law of fire's pillaging profundity was extremely fast. Time continued to pass by. In just a blink of an eye, 5 months had passed since Duan Lingtian had killed the Bloodskull Gang's assassin with his consumable royal-grade celestial weapon. In a spacious room, a figure shrouded in crimson flames could be seen moving back and forth in the air like a ball of fire. After a while, the figure that was burning with crimson flames stopped moving. He stood in the air, revealing his figure under the flames. It was a handsome young man dressed in purple. "I can go even faster," the purple-robed young man said faintly. Almost at the instant he finished speaking, his body shuddered, and he seemed to fuse with the flames around him. He sliced through the air, and it was as if a ball of crimson flames had swept past. Bang, 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 bang. This time, the crimson flames moved even faster in the room, stirring up a heat wave and stirring up a strong wind that caused the windows and doors to tremble. Only the ice bed remained motionless at the side of the room. However, upon closer inspection, one could see the ice bed was also trembling slightly at a high frequency. The only difference was that it was not as obvious as the windows and doors. So this is the rudimentary pillaging profundity? It's really extraordinary. The raging flames once again stopped in the void, and the purple-clothed young man reappeared. As he muttered to himself, a brilliant smile appeared on his face at the right time. The purple-clad young man was none other than Duan Lingtian. He had spent 5 months in seclusion this time. With the help of the chaotic divine flame, he had finally comprehended the pillaging profundity of the laws of fire. The law of fire's pillaging profundity was comparable to the law of wind's gale profundity. Apart from increasing one's speed, it could also unleash an extremely powerful attack. Comprehending the law of fire's plundering profundity also meant that Duan Lingtian had completely mastered the monarch-grade divine ability that contained the law of plundering. That day, Duan Lingtian had obtained 5 king-grade divine abilities that contained the law of fire. He could now comprehend the other 5 laws of fire other than the fire elemental profundity. And now, Duan Lingtian had comprehended one of the profound meanings. Let's go take a look at Guanglin. After comprehending the law of fire's plundering profundity, Duan Lingtian was in a good mood. He opened the door and walked out of his room. When Duan Lingtian opened the door and walked out of his room, Zheng Hongyi's eyes lit up immediately. He had been paying attention to Duan Lingtian's true disciple cultivation courtyard. Many people were looking at Duan Lingtian when he walked out of his room. Therefore, he did not notice Zheng Hongyi's gaze. Lu Guanglin had long been brought to the Simplicity Celestial Sect by Sun Liang Peng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, from the Grade 8 Celestial Kingdom, the supporting Fall Nation. However, instead of staying in the valley where the inner and true disciples were staying, Sun Liang Peng had arranged for Lu Guanglin to stay in another valley with beautiful scenery. The valley was the place where the Simplicity Celestial Sect received guests. The environment was excellent, and it was not inferior to the inner disciples' cultivation courtyards. However, ever since Lu Guanglin arrived at the Simplicity Celestial Sect, Duan Lingtian had yet to meet him. Although Duan Lingtian had not met Lu Guanglin before, he knew where Lu Guanglin was staying in the Simplicity Celestial Sect. Swoosh! Duan Lingtian soared into the sky and left the vast valley under everyone's watchful eyes. He disappeared before the group of inner court disciples' eyes. He left. Zheng Hongyi's eyes glinted when he saw Duan Lingtian leaving. However, he did not dare to follow Duan Lingtian. Instead, he quickly sent a message to the assassin from the Bloodskull Gang. "Senior, Duan Lingtian has left his cultivation courtyard and is heading east. I'm not sure if he's leaving the sect or not. His current cultivation base is comparable to a 10 Directions Celestial King. I don't dare to follow him." Based on Zheng Hongyi's message, one could tell he was a calm person. He was not blinded by the temptation of 10 bottles of Duke-grade pills. About an hour later, Zheng Hongyi discovered Duan Lingtian had returned. He immediately sent a message to the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang so the assassin would not waste his time waiting outside. Naturally, Zheng Hongyi did not care if the assassin had waited for Duan Lingtian for nothing. However, he had to consider whether or not the other party would vent his anger on him if he became impatient and became angry. He did not want to see that happen. I didn't expect Guanglin to comprehend the law of Earth's fundamental profundity, the Earth elemental profundity, in less than a year after he arrived at the Simplicity Celestial Sect. Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly. He did not expect Lu Guanglin's comprehension ability to be so high. When he went to look for Lu Guanglin, he learned that Lu Guanglin had comprehended the law of Earth's fundamental profundity, the Earth elemental profundity. Although Duan Lingtian had comprehended the law of Earth's fundamental profundity in a single night, it was with the help of the Chaos Divine Earth. Lu Guanglin, on the other hand, did not have the help of the Chaos Divine Earth. The King-grade divine ability that Lu Guanglin had comprehended was given to him by Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. Duan Lingtian, naturally, knew Sun Liangpeng had done this to show his gratitude. Therefore, he owed Sun Liangpeng a favor. Lu Guanglin had been loyal to him for a long time. As time passed, he had accepted Lu Guanglin as his follower. Previously, he had asked Lu Guanglin to choose between staying in the supporting Fall Nation or joining the Simplicity Celestial Sect. However, in truth, he still hoped that Lu Guanglin would join the Simplicity Celestial Sect. Even if Lu Guanglin chose to stay in the supporting Fall Nation, he would still respect Lu Guanglin's decision. Duan Lingtian only left for an hour. Where did he go? Zheng Hongyi was curious when he saw Duan Lingtian had returned after only an hour. He instinctively wanted to find out more about Duan Lingtian's whereabouts. As soon as he did, he discovered Lu Guanglin's presence. A follower? Zheng Hongyi frowned as he thought to himself, it's not difficult to knock him out and take him away from the sect. However, how could a follower make Duan Lingtian leave the sect's estate and risk his life for him? Zheng Hongyi put himself in Duan Lingtian's shoes. If he was in Duan Lingtian's shoes, he would not risk his life for a follower. I don't care anymore. However, when he thought about the 10 bottles of Duke Supreme pills, he gritted his teeth and made up his mind. It's better to get him out of here. If Duan Lingtian refuses to leave the sect's estate for Duan Lingtian, he can only blame himself for being unlucky. However, if Duan Lingtian is willing to leave the sect's estate for Duan Lingtian will definitely die. At that time, I'll be able to obtain 10 bottles of Duke Supreme pills. Zheng Hongyi's eyes shone brightly when he thought about this. A greedy expression could be seen on his face as he licked his lips. I have to think of a way to get close to him. When he lets his guard down, I'll use the White Lightning Strike talisman to knock him out and bring him away from the sect's estate. Although Zheng Hongyi had made up his mind to kidnap Duan Lingtian's follower, Lu Guanglin, he did not dare to be careless. He was afraid Duan Lingtian would receive a message from Lu Guanglin before he could bring Lu Guanglin away. If that was the case, his identity would be exposed and he would be doomed eternally. For this reason, he had to be careful. Half a month later, Zheng Hongyi saw the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang again on a barren plain some distance away from the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate. Who's he? The Blood Skull Gang's assassin could not help but frown when he saw Zheng Hongyi lift his hand and pull out a living person from the swirling vortex in front of him. The person that Zheng Hongyi dragged out of his small world was a middle-aged man who had fainted. Senior, this is the follower of Duan Lingtian, your target. Zheng Hongyi hastily answered the Blood Skull Gang's question. He did not forget to add, Duan Lingtian's follower came from the Thousand Nations territory. Moreover, my master, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, personally brought him here. Follower? The assassin from the Blood Skull Gang frowned. You brought his follower here because you want to use him as bait to lure Duan Lingtian out, right? Yes. Zheng Hongyi replied. Do you think Duan Lingtian would leave the Simplicity Celestial Sect and risk his life for a mere follower? The assassin from the Blood Skull Gang sneered. Senior, I can't think of another way for now. However, I still think we can try this method. Zheng Hongyi braced himself and said, Senior, you don't want to keep waiting outside, right? Although this method might not work, but what if it does? Zheng Hongyi tried his best to convince the assassin. You're right. The assassin from the Blood Skull Gang muttered to himself for a moment before he was convinced by Zheng Hongyi. Zheng Hongyi heaved a sigh of relief when he saw the Blood Skull Gang's assassin was convinced. He looked at the Blood Skull Gang's assassin anxiously and said, Senior, since this person saw me and knows who I am, please kill him before he wakes up after you lure Duan Ling Tian out. If Duan Ling Tian doesn't come out, please kill him as well. Zheng Hongyi pleaded. All right. The assassin from the Blood Skull Gang nodded. Chapter 3062. At this moment, he was completely unaware that he could be betrayed by the Blood Skull Gang's assassin at any time. According to his plan, if Duan Ling Tian did not show up, the Blood Skull Gang's assassin would kill Lu Guanglin before Duan Ling Tian's follower woke up. Once Duan Ling Tian showed up, the assassin would naturally place all his attention on Duan Ling Tian. At that time, the assassin would not care if Lu Guanglin woke up or if Lu Guanglin would betray him after he woke up. All the assassin cared about was killing Duan Ling Tian and fulfilling the orders given to him by the organization. Duan Ling Tian did not expect to receive such a letter. After half a year, he had actually received a letter similar to the one he had received half a year ago. The content of the letter was similar to the one he had received before. However, the person in the letter was not Huan but Lu Guanglin's follower. Moreover, he had personally gone to Lu Guanglin's location to confirm that Lu Guanglin had indeed been abducted. Swaggering in and abducting one of your men? There's no way that the person who did this is a member of the Blood Skull. After all, if an assassin from the Blood Skull Gang were to enter the sect, he would definitely alert the sect's formation. This was the reply Duan Ling Tian had sent to Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, to inform him that Lu Guanglin had been abducted. Based on your words, it's very likely that the assassin is a mole. Is it someone from the Simplicity Celestial Sect? Duan Ling Tian asked. Sun Liangpeng's reply was firm. The letter also states that I should travel alone. If you or a celestial king from the sect comes with me, I'm afraid the mole will still inform the assassin. Duan Ling Tian replied. Duan Ling Tian, I've already made plans for this. Half a year ago, when you encountered that incident, I pretended to send my second brother out to handle some matters, Sun Liangpeng replied confidently. Sun Liangpeng's voice was filled with confidence as he replied, now, he's waiting for my orders. This time, he'll go with you to meet the Blood Skull's assassin. Sect leader, are you sure your second brother will be able to protect me? Duan Ling Tian did not beat around the bush. Although he was certain he would leave the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate to rescue Lu Guanglin, he had to be fully prepared before he left. After all, he did not know how strong the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang was sent. Although he did not know how strong the assassin from the Heaven Realm was, he was certain the assassin was stronger than him. At most, the assassins from the Heaven Celestial Sect's estate. In the eyes of the Blood Skull Gang, Duan Ling Tian was no longer a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial but a 10 directions celestial king who had comprehended 2 profundities from the law of earth. Moreover, his cultivation base as a 10 directions celestial king would decline rapidly if he expended even a little bit of his energy. Don't worry. Sun Liangpeng remained confident even after hearing Duan Ling Tian's words. Although my second brother's cultivation base is only a 5 elements celestial king, his comprehension of the law of wind is extremely powerful. None of the 5 elements celestial kings in the profound nether mansion are a match for him. His strength is comparable to a 5 elements celestial king from the Blood Skull Gang. In fact, his strength is comparable to a 6 combos celestial king from the Blood Skull Gang. Duan Ling Tian nodded. Although your cultivation base is comparable to a 10 directions celestial king, your comprehension of the profundities from the law isn't strong. It's impossible for the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang to be too strong. In my opinion, they'll send a 5 elements celestial king at most. It's more likely that they'll send a four phenomenons celestial king. Based on Sun Liangpeng's words, it was clear he was confident in his guess. My second brother should be able to suppress a five elements celestial king. It won't be difficult for him to kill the assassin after some time. Even if the assassin doesn't want to fight and wants to flee, with my second brother's comprehension of the law of wind, it won't be difficult for him to catch up to the assassin. Even if he can't kill the assassin, he can still send a message to me. Duan Lingtian nodded. All right. Sun Liangpeng's words put Duan Lingtian at ease. Sect leader, when can I depart? Duan Lingtian asked Sun Liangpeng. He was in a hurry to rescue Lu Guanglin. You can depart now. My second brother is hiding near the sect's estate. Moreover, his true form as a celestial beast is best at concealing itself. Even a 6 combos celestial king or 7 stars celestial king won't be able to detect his presence, let alone a 5 elements celestial king. Sun Liangpeng replied. Where is that person asking you to go? To the east? Sun Liangpeng asked. The west. Duan Lingtian replied. All right, you can depart now. Keep in touch. I'll ask my second brother to follow you closely so he can protect you in time. As soon as Sun Liangpeng finished speaking, Duan Lingtian made his way to the west. This time, he was even further away from the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate. Sush. After leaving the Simplicity Celestial Sect's estate, Duan Lingtian did not use his celestial origin energy to travel. Instead, he used a celestial boat to carry him. The weakest celestial boat was a Duke-grade celestial weapon. Moreover, it was very complicated to refine. For this reason, Duan Lingtian had only heard of Duke-grade celestial boats before he joined the Simplicity Celestial Sect. The Duke-grade celestial boats were divided into 3 grades. The better the grade, the faster the boat. The fastest celestial boat was comparable to a 9 palaces celestial duke who traveled with only his celestial origin energy. The slowest celestial boat was comparable to a 3 talents celestial duke who traveled with only his celestial origin energy. This was the difference between a high-grade Duke-grade celestial boat and a low-grade Duke-grade celestial boat. Mid-grade Duke-grade celestial boats were comparable to a 6 combinations celestial duke who traveled with only his celestial origin energy. Currently, Duan Lingtian was riding on a low-grade celestial boat. He had spent some celestial crystals to purchase it from an elder of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. The elder of the Simplicity Celestial Sect was a Duke-grade celestial weapon craftsman who was capable of forging Duke-grade celestial boats. He was also the only Duke-grade celestial weapon craftsman in the Simplicity Celestial Sect who was capable of forging Duke-grade celestial boats. However, the Duke-grade celestial boats he was capable of forging were mostly low-grade Duke-grade celestial boats. Up until now, he had only forged 2 mid-grade Duke-grade celestial boats. As for high-grade Duke-grade celestial boats, he had yet to forge one. I've arrived. After traveling for a day and a night on the celestial boat, Duan Lingtian finally arrived at the place where the person who had left the message had agreed to meet him. The place where they had agreed to meet was a barren plain. There was only a lone tree standing on the plain. The tree had no leaves, only its branches. Most of the branches were withered, and there were a few cracks on the main branch. It was clear the tree had lost its vitality. A soul pearl. Duan Lingtian discovered a soul pearl on one of the branches of the tree. He was not surprised by this since this was what the person who had left the message had agreed to meet. After obtaining the soul pearl, he tried to contact the person who had written the message through the soul imprint on the soul pearl. However, as soon as Duan Lingtian's divine consciousness made contact with the soul imprint on the soul pearl, swoosh, swoosh, along with the sound of leaves flapping, the branches on the big tree beside Duan Lingtian began to shake one by one. At the same time, white dots of light appeared at every corner of the tree. They looked like stars in the sky. These white dots of light each gave off a mysterious power, which then converged together and blossomed into a dazzling white light. As soon as the white light appeared, it enveloped the entire tree, including Duan Lingtian. At the same time, Duan Lingtian felt his vision darken. His heart skipped a beat. Is this a teleportation formation? No. In the void not far away, A huge green bird that resembled a goshawk appeared. It was as if it had been hiding in the void earlier. After the goshawk appeared, its mountain-like body transformed into a young man dressed in a long green robe in the blink of an eye. He looked at the tree that had returned to its original state after the white light dissipated. His expression was unsightly. The assassin from the Blood Skull Gang is actually a formation master? This teleportation formation was set up so stealthily that even I didn't notice it before it was set up. I wonder where Duan Ling Tian has been transported to. The green-clad young man was the second brother of Sun Liang Peng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial sect. He was a 5 elements celestial king in human form. Based on Sun Liang Peng's words, among the 5 elements celestial kings in the profound Nether Mansion, there was no one who was a match for Sun Liang Peng. Based on this, it was clear the green-clad young man was quite strong. However, even then, Duan Ling Tian had still disappeared right under his nose. As expected, it's a one-time teleportation formation. Although the green-clad young man knew Duan Ling Tian had triggered a one-time teleportation formation, he still flew toward the tree to inspect it. After a while, he was certain it was a one-time teleportation formation that had sent Duan Ling Tian away. Big brother. The green-clad young man took a deep breath before he sent a message to his big brother, Sun Liang Peng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial sect. Sun Liang Peng, who was in the Simplicity Celestial sect's estate, had an unsightly expression on his face when he received the green-clad young man's message. I can't believe that the Blood Skull's assassin is a spell formation grandmaster. Even if one had sufficient materials, it was not easy to set up a one-time teleportation formation on a withered tree. Ordinary formation masters were not capable of such a feat. Chapter 3063. He might not be a formation grandmaster. It's possible that he found a formation grandmaster nearby to set up this formation. The green-clad young man replied, "Damn it. I didn't expect the Blood Skull Gang to be so cunning. They even prepared a one-time transporting formation that even you couldn't detect." When Sun Liang Peng transmitted the message again, his voice was very heavy. However, the teleportation distance of a one-time use teleportation portal is limited after all. Second brother, search the surrounding area as quickly as you can. I'll go over immediately and search with you. As soon as Sun Liang Peng finished speaking, he left the Simplicity Celestial sect's estate. At the same time, he did not forget to contact the high-ranking officials in the Simplicity Celestial sect and asked them to help him search for Duan Ling Tian as well. Soon enough, nearly half of the celestial kings in the Simplicity Celestial sect's estate left to search for Duan Ling Tian. While the high-ranking officials of the Simplicity Celestial sect were busy searching for Duan Ling Tian, Duan Ling Tian had already been transported to a sinister valley. The valley was filled with a foul stench, causing Duan Ling Tian to erect a barrier of celestial origin energy to keep the stench at bay. Of course, this kind of celestial origin energy barrier that could block out the stench basically did not consume any celestial origin energy. Even if Duan Ling Tian's celestial origin energy that was comparable to a 10 Directions Celestial King's celestial origin energy would not necessarily drop to the level of a 9 Palaces Celestial King. It's actually a transporting formation. Moreover, the sect leader's second brother isn't here. It's obvious it's a one-time transporting formation. The Blood Skull Gang's assassin really came prepared. Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath as a sense of dread rose in his heart. He could only rely on himself now. "Since you've sent me here, are you still not going to show yourself?" Duan Ling Tian asked coldly as he swept his cold gaze across the canyon. As soon as Duan Ling Tian finished speaking, a frivolous and indifferent voice rang in the air. What a close relationship between a master and a servant. The voice seemed to have come from all directions. However, Duan Ling Tian, who had extended his divine consciousness in all directions, managed to locate the owner of the voice as soon as it rang in the air. In an inconspicuous cave on one side of the canyon, a figure walked out of it, carrying a person in his hand. When the figure walked out of the darkness, Duan Ling Tian had a clear view of the person's appearance. The person was a middle-aged man with a medium build. He was dressed in the same black robes of the Bloodskull Gang's assassin. The middle-aged man had an ordinary appearance, but his eyes seemed to be suffused with a cold light at all times. When his gaze landed on Duan Ling Tian, it was like waves of cold wind that slapped on Duan Ling Tian's body, causing Duan Ling Tian to tremble with fear. Guanglin. Duan Lingtian's expression darkened slightly when he saw the unconscious Lu Guanglin in the hands of the Bloodskull Gang's assassin. At the same time, Duan Lingtian extended his divine consciousness into Lu Guanglin's body and discovered traces of white lightning energy in Lu Guanglin's body. These traces of white lightning energy were suppressing Lu Guanglin, preventing him from waking up. Duan Lingtian extended his divine consciousness and forced the white lightning energy in Lu Guanglin's body to retreat. At the same time, Lu Guanglin slowly opened his eyes and saw Duan Lingtian. His eyes lit up immediately. At the same time, he instinctively called out to Duan Lingtian, "Es, sir." Lu Guanglin's voice was hoarse, and his aura was weak. It was as though he had been tortured. At the same time, Lu Guanglin sent a message to Duan Lingtian. Lu Guanglin told Duan Lingtian who had brought him out of the Simplicity Celestial Sex estate. Although he did not know what had happened, when he saw Duan Lingtian in this place after he woke up, he could faintly guess that someone wanted to deal with his master. For this reason, Lu Guanglin did not hesitate to tell Duan Lingtian everything he knew. Zheng Hongyi. Duan Lingtian's expression darkened immediately when he received Lu Guanglin's message. Right at this instant, a cold and indifferent voice entered into Duan Lingtian's ears in a timely manner. "Go to the Yellow Springs Road and wait for your master." The voice belonged to the Bloodskull Gang's assassin who was holding Lu Guanglin hostage. This is bad. As soon as the voice entered Duan Lingtian's ears, his expression changed drastically. At the same time, his celestial origin energy surged out of his body and turned into crimson flames. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian seemed to have transformed into a ball of fire as he shot toward the Bloodskull Gang's assassin. It's too late. As soon as Duan Lingtian made his move, the Bloodskull Gang's assassin began to move as well. He moved like a ghost in the air. At the same time, Duan Lingtian saw a silver thread in the air. The Bloodskull assassin was holding an inconspicuous silver thread in his hands. As the silver thread vibrated, Lu Guanglin's body was torn to pieces. Guanglin. Upon seeing Lu Guanglin's death, Duan Lingtian instinctively came to a halt. His eyes were bloodshot. At the same time, the flames around Duan Lingtian's body surged, making it seem as though he had turned into a flaming man. Don't worry. Next, you will follow him and accompany him on the road to the Yellow Springs. Upon seeing Duan Lingtian losing his composure, the Bloodskull Gang's assassin flashed a bright smile. When he spoke again, it was as though he had already regarded Duan Lingtian as a dead man. Die. As soon as the Bloodskull Gang's assassin finished speaking, Duan Lingtian's cold gaze landed on him. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's body transformed into a ball of fire again as he shot toward the Bloodskull Gang's assassin. His speed was comparable to the assassin's. I'd like to see how long you can last with such speed. Since it's not your celestial origin energy, it's not yours. When the Bloodskull Gang's assassin saw Duan Lingtian charging toward him, he began to move again. It seemed like he had no intention of fighting Duan Lingtian head-on. Based on his words, it was clear he intended to deplete Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy. After Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy dropped, he would attack Duan Lingtian. However, those fellows are really unreliable. What do they mean by comprehending two profundities from the law of earth? They're clearly comprehending two profundities from the law of fire. The fire elemental profundity. The plundering profundity. The assassin muttered to himself as he dodged Duan Lingtian. Fortunately, I'm the one who came this time. If it were another 4 phenomenons celestial king or a 5 elements celestial king, I'm afraid he would have died here. Senior Chaos Divine Flame. Duan Lingtian's expression darkened when he saw the assassin's intention. At the same time, he contacted the Chaos Divine Flame. Almost as soon as he made contact with the chaotic divine flame, A gray flame-like energy surged out of his body and merged with the flames that surrounded his body. Boom! A loud explosion rang in the air as though the flames had exploded. In the next moment, the flames on Duan Lingtian's body surged. His speed was much faster than before. In just a blink of an eye, his speed had surpassed the assassin's speed. This is the explosion profundity? The assassin's expression changed slightly. He knew he could no longer dodge Duan Lingtian's attacks. After all, Duan Lingtian was fast enough to catch up to him. Since the flames on Duan Lingtian's body seemed to have exploded, the assassin assumed Duan Lingtian had comprehended the explosion profundity from the law of fire. The explosion profundity was the law of fire's main offensive profundity. However, it also contained a hint of speed. During the process of the explosion, the speed of the flame's turbulence naturally increased by quite a bit. Through the speed characteristic of the explosion profound, once he used the explosion profound, he could increase his speed to the next level. Buzz, 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 buzz. The assassin no longer dodged Duan Lingtian's attack. Instead, he turned around and waved his hands. The silk thread in his hands began to vibrate rapidly. It was as though thousands of saber rays were slicing through the air, emitting a crisp and ear-piercing sound. Apart from that, when the assassin made his move, green rays of light could be seen on the silk thread in his hands. When he moved, green rays of light could also be seen on his body. It was as though he was surrounded by wind. Clearly, the assassin had comprehended the law of wind and was using various profundities from the law of wind. Up until now, he had only used the gale profundity, the wind-gathering profundity, and the slicing profundity. As for the fundamental profundity of the law of wind, the wind elemental profundity, there was no need to mention it. If one did not comprehend the wind elemental profundity, it would be impossible for one to use the other profundities from the law of wind. A6 Combo's Celestial King? Based on the celestial origin energy on the assassin's body, it was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to determine the assassin's cultivation base. At the same time, he could also vaguely identify the profundities from the law of wind that the assassin had used. The 7 Orifices Exquisite Sword. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian took out his 7 Orifices Exquisite Sword to deal with the Bloodskull Gang's assassin. Naturally, to prevent the assassin from recognizing the 7 Orifices Exquisite Sword as a royal-grade celestial weapon, Duan Lingtian pretended to take it out of his spatial ring. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Strange noises rang in the air from the assassin's group, attracting Duan Lingtian's attention. At the same time, his eyes widened in shock. This is the wind blade profundity? Chapter 3064. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. A series of strange sounds rang in the air as the string in the Bloodskull Gang's assassin's hand shook the air, causing green blades to appear in the air. The green blades were formed from wind. This was one of the offensive profundities from the law of wind, the wind blade profundity. However, this was not the end of it. As the Bloodskull Gang assassin waved the silk thread in his hand, the air in the area where the silk thread passed through started to distort violently. In the end, it formed a tornado that sucked in all the wind blades and silk threads. In just a blink of an eye, a terrifying tornado formed in front of the Bloodskull Gang's assassin. It completely blocked Duan Lingtian's sight. In Duan Lingtian's eyes, the Bloodskull Gang's assassin's figure was completely blocked by the tornado that continued to grow. This is the tornado profundity from the law of wind? Duan Lingtian's expression changed slightly. Up until now, the assassin had cast 6 profundities from the law of wind. The wind elemental profundity, the hurricane profundity, the gale profundity, the slash profundity, the wind blade profundity, and the tornado profundity. Excluding the wind elemental profundity, the assassin had cast a total of 5 profundities from the law of wind. Lad, you're just a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Even if you're using a consumable royal-grade celestial weapon, you should be proud that you're able to die under my attack. In the blink of an eye, the Bloodskull Gang assassin dove into the tornado, completely ignoring the twisting threads and the sharp wind blades that were flying toward him. A full-powered attack? When Duan Ling Tian heard the Blood Skull Gang's words, he knew the Blood Skull Gang's assassin was using all of his techniques. Apart from the string that was a king-grade celestial weapon that had been nurtured by a celestial lord, the assassin had also cast 6 profundities from the Law of Wind. There were only 9 profundities from the Law of Wind, including the Wind Elemental Profundity. However, the assassin had cast 6 profundities from the Law of Wind. In the Southern Heaven territory, it was extremely rare for someone to comprehend 9 profundities of the same law, even if it was only to the rudimentary stage. Comprehending the first few profundities of the 9 profundities of the same law wasn't that bad. It didn't feel like it was that easy. However, the further one comprehended the profundities, the more difficult it was to comprehend them. This was because there were many conflicting profundities from the same Law of Wind. Only by finding a balance point would one be able to comprehend 2 conflicting profundities from the Law of Wind. A 6th celestial king was a 6 comms celestial king had comprehended 6 profundities from the Law of Wind. Brat die! The assassin's voice from the tornado, the assassins, the assassins, the assassins, the assassins. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, the tornado whistled and swept toward Duan Lingtian. Its speed was not inferior to Duan Lingtian's current speed. If Duan Lingtian could maintain his current speed, he would be able to pull away from the tornado attack. Alas, he could not maintain his current speed because the celestial origin energy in his body came from the consumable royal-grade celestial weapon. Based on the current situation, his cultivation base would regress to the level of a 9 palaces celestial king in 30 breaths at most. At that time, the tornado attack of the Blood Skull Gang assassin would catch up to him and engulf him. I'd like to see how long the celestial origin energy in your body can last. You'll definitely die within 50 breaths. The assassin from the Blood Skull Gang sneered when he saw Duan Lingtian moving at full speed to avoid the tornado attack. I can't let this go on. Otherwise, I'll definitely die within 30 breaths. At this moment, Duan Lingtian had used all his techniques to move as fast as he could to maintain a certain distance from the tornado. However, he knew the distance between them would shrink after 30 breaths, and the tornado would catch up to him within 10 breaths. Apart from the Wind Elemental Profundity, the Wind Elemental Profundity, the Wind Gathering Profundity, the Gale Profundity, the Slash Profundity, the Wind Blade Profundity, and the Tornado Profundity. With my current strength, it won't be difficult for me to block his attack even with the 7 Orifices Exquisite Sword. However, my celestial origin energy will be depleted rapidly after blocking his attack. At the very least, my cultivation base will drop to the level of an 8 trigram celestial king. At that time, he'll only be slightly injured at most. It'll be easy for him to kill me. Faced with the tornado, Duan Lingtian felt time passing by so quickly. At the same time, he could feel the aura of death looming over him. Profound divine metal, both of us have to make a move this time. Otherwise, this brat will definitely die. The Chaos Divine Earth's childish voice sounded solemn as though it was about to face a formidable enemy. It was rare for it to be so serious. Of course I know. The Profound Divine Metal's voice rang in the air as well. Kid, attack him with all your strength. Use the sword in your hand and aim at his vitals. We only have one chance. We only have one chance, the Profound Divine Metal said to Duan Lingtian. Don't panic. You're not any slower than him. It won't be difficult for you to aim at his vitals. The Chaos Divine Earth comforted Duan Lingtian before it continued to say, moreover, if he sees you attacking him instead of running away, he'll only think you're putting up a desperate fight. He won't even think about dodging your attack. By the time he realized that the sword in your hand was extraordinary and the power of the Profound Divine Metal, it was already too late for him to realize the danger he was in. The Chaos Divine Earth's tone was filled with confidence when it spoke. Even if you manage to kill him, you'll be severely injured even with the help of the Chaos Divine Earth. Duan Lingtian exclaimed. The Chaos Divine Flame added, after you kill him, if you have any energy left, try your best to fuse it with the defensive celestial artifact you're wearing to protect yourself from the aftershock of his attack. Upon hearing the 5 divine elements' words, Duan Lingtian calmed down. It was as though the waves on the sea had calmed down. The reason Duan Lingtian was able to calm down in such a short time was due to his many life and death experiences in the past. He knew very well that at this moment, the key to success or failure was to remain calm. After all, those who could not maintain their composure were usually the ones who would die. Swoosh! Under the gaze of the blood skull assassin, the crimson flame, which had been keeping a distance from him all this time, suddenly paused. Moreover, after the crimson flame paused for a moment to reveal the purple figure, it began to charge toward the assassin. Whoosh, whoosh. The crimson flame tore through the air, creating a heat wave in its wake. It seemed as though the air in its wake was on fire. If someone was here, they would clearly see the crimson flame in the air. Within the canyon, there was a vast and boundless scarlet flame that was colliding with a tornado that traversed the canyon. How stubborn! The Blood Skull Gang's assassin snorted coldly. In his opinion, Duan Lingtian was only doing this because Duan Lingtian wanted to fight to the death before his celestial origin energy was reduced. However, now that he had a rough idea of Duan Lingtian's strength, what was there to be afraid of? Although Duan Lingtian's current cultivation base was comparable to a 10 Directions Celestial King, he had only comprehended 3 profundities from the Law of Fire. One of them was the Fire Elemental Profundity, the fundamental profundity of the Law of Fire. In his opinion, Duan Lingtian only had 1 purely offensive King-grade celestial weapon and 1 purely defensive King-grade celestial weapon that had been nurtured by a celestial lord. Boom! Rumble! The tornado continued to wreak havoc in the valley. It did not seem like it was going to stop anytime soon. The wind stirred up sand and stones in the valley, uprooting the flowers, plants, and trees. A large tree that required 5 to 6 adults to wrap their arms around was uprooted as well. Apart from that, the walls of the valley that were close to the tornado began to crack. Some of the rocks that were severely cracked fell off the walls and were sucked into the tornado before they were reduced to dust. He's in the tornado. I can see him now. If I get closer, I'll be able to lock on to his vital points. When the crimson flame on Duan Lingtian's body collided with the tornado, the assassin felt a powerful pressure pressing down on him, making it difficult for him to breathe. At the same time, the energy from the Chaos Divine Earth entered his body and merged with the crimson flame on his body, alleviating the pressure on him. Boom, 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 boom. The tornado and the soaring flames collided. Deafening explosions sounded again and again. The rolling airwaves carried a terrifying shock wave that swept in all directions and slammed into the surroundings of the canyon, causing the entire canyon to tremble. It was as if a violent earthquake had occurred. Meanwhile, there's movement over there. Sun Liang Peng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, who was searching for Duan Lingtian on the east side of the valley, suddenly turned to look in the direction of the valley. Although the tremors from the other side were not strong, it was not difficult for him to determine the distance. It was not difficult for him to see that a terrifying battle was taking place there. It should be there. Sun Liang Peng's expression was solemn as he shot forward at lightning speed. Duan Lingtian, hold on for a little longer. Wait for me. Over there. As soon as Sun Liang Peng made his move, his second brother, the green-clad young man who had transformed into a celestial beast, also transformed back into a celestial beast and flew toward the valley. There seems to be movement over there. Let's go. Let's go over there and have a look. It seems to be very far away. Based on the commotion, the 2 people fighting are definitely not weak. It must be Duan Lingtian and the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. Chapter 3065. The gloomy valley was in ruins. Everything inside was in a state of chaos. The raging wind and fire in the air made it seem as if doomsday had arrived. I've locked onto him. Under the cover of the soaring flames, Duan Lingtian's 7 orifices exquisite sword shot out a sword ray and broke through the threads and wind blades contained in the tornado. He charged toward the Blood Skull assassin who was in the middle of the tornado. At the same time, he locked his gaze on the Blood Skull assassin's forehead. Not bad. I didn't expect you to be able to come here, The assassin was surprised to see Duan Lingtian's purple robe, which had been shredded by the wind blades, was still able to get close to him despite the wounds on his body. However, it's time to end this now. A cold smile appeared on the assassin's face. Then he stretched out his hands, and the threads in his hands suddenly shot toward Duan Lingtian. At this moment, this thread that whistled towards Duan Lingtian seemed to have transformed into a general that commanded a vast army, and as soon as it flashed out, the wind blades that covered the sky arrived along with its shadow and flashed towards Duan Lingtian at the same time. When the assassin made his move, his eyes were cold and his face was expressionless. In his eyes, Duan Lingtian was already a dead man. Brat, now's the time. Just as the assassin saw Duan Lingtian breaking through the tornado and attacking Duan Lingtian, the profound divine metal's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. Upon hearing the profound divine metal's words, Duan Lingtian's eyes turned even colder. At the same time, the sword in his hand suddenly shone with a dazzling 7-colored light. Bush, 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 bush. At this moment, the 7 orifices exquisite sword, which had looked ordinary, shone with the utmost brilliance. 7 sword rays of different colors shot out of the 7 orifices on the sword and swirled around the sword. At the same time, they emitted different auras. Every sword light of a different color exuded a completely different aura. 7 different colored sword lights circled around the 7 orifices exquisite sword. After a while, the 7 orifices exquisite sword seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. The sword lights suddenly surged and became sharper. A terrifying aura began to spread out. If the Blood Skull Gang assassin still couldn't see the extraordinariness of the 7 orifices exquisite sword, he would have lived his life in vain. However, before he could think of anything else, he saw a golden thread appear in the middle of the 7 orifices exquisite sword. If one took a closer look, it was not a golden thread, but a golden energy. It was like a golden stream of water, flowing on the 7 orifices exquisite sword. The strings in the Blood Skull assassin's hands whizzed towards Duan Lingtian, as if they were going to cut Duan Lingtian into 1,000 pieces. In the face of this, Duan Lingtian's sword light flickered in his hand as he fearlessly charged forward. Whoosh! Just one sword strike seemed to be able to cut through the void. Wherever it passed, the golden threads were shaken away, and the wind blades were all swept away. However, some of the wind blades still managed to land on Duan Lingtian's body. Even with the Chaos Divine Earth's energy and the purely defensive King-grade celestial weapon that had been nurtured by a celestial lord, he was still unable to withstand the wind blades. In the blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian's purple clothes became even more tattered, and the number of wounds on his body increased. He looked like he was riddled with holes. All this happened in the blink of an eye. Emperor-grade celestial weapon. When the Blood Skull Gang assassin saw the sword in Duan Lingtian's hand and let out a cry of shock, the 7 orifices exquisite sword in Duan Lingtian's hand, which had been infused with the profound divine metal's energy, was already close to the assassin's forehead. The assassin from the Blood Skull Gang did not even have time to react since Duan Lingtian's attack was too fast. When the profound divine metal's energy surged into the 7 orifices exquisite sword, Duan Lingtian felt as though the sword was flying out of his hand. Spurt! A soft sound rang in the air. The 7 orifices exquisite sword in Duan Lingtian's hand pierced the assassin's forehead as though it was made of tofu. The white blade entered, and the red blade exited. The profound divine metal's power surged into the Blood Skull assassin's sea of psychic power, crushing his soul with ease. The assassin from the Blood Skull Gang's eyes were wide open as he fell to the ground. Before he died, he had clearly mobilized the remaining energy in his body and infused it into the king-grade celestial weapon that had been nurtured by a celestial lord. However, it was still easily pierced through by Duan Lingtian's sword. It was as though the 7-colored sword chi did not penetrate the defense of a king-grade celestial weapon but a broken wall. Before he died, the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang only had one thought in his mind. How did Duan Lingtian cast the law of fire and the law of metal's piercing profundity at the same time? The profound divine metal that had fused with the 7 orifices exquisite sword was very similar to the law of metal's piercing profundity. The assassin from the Blood Skull Gang had comprehended the law of wind. Apart from the law of wind and the law of metal, the 2 profundities had similar characteristics. It was the severing profundity. The law of metal had the severing profundity, and the law of wind had the severing profundity as well. Back then, in order to comprehend the cutting profound of the law of wind, the Blood Skull Gang had not only used the floating image pearls of experts who had comprehended the cutting profound of the law of wind, but they had also used the floating image pearls of experts who had comprehended the cutting profound of the law of metal. For this reason, he was familiar with the piercing profundity since he had seen powerhouses who had comprehended the law of metal's severing profundity cast the piercing profundity. Although the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang was surprised that Duan Lingtian had comprehended the law of metal's piercing profundity, he did not think it was impossible. However, Duan Lingtian had cast the law of wind and the law of metal's piercing profundity at the same time. This completely overturned the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang's understanding of the law of metal's piercing profundity. Swoosh, swoosh. After the death of the Blood Skull Gang's assassin, the vast tornado dispersed in the blink of an eye, turning into a gust of wind that blew in every corner of the canyon, displaying its remaining power. Boom, boom, rumble. The valley trembled as though an earthquake had occurred. Puff, 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 puff. After the tornado's energy dissipated, Duan Lingtian panted heavily. He felt completely drained. When he put away the 7 orifices exquisite sword, he felt as though his entire body was about to fall apart. The numbing pain he felt due to his concentration was transmitted to his mind from his nerves, causing him to faint. After his body swayed for a while, Duan Lingtian took out a Duke-grade healing pill from his spatial ring and swallowed it. Only then did the pain in his body subside. Lad, the chaos divine flame and the profound divine metal have fallen into a deep slumber after helping you this time. I'll also need to rest for a while to recover. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to collect the loot left behind by the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang, the chaos divine Earth's childish voice rang in his ears. In the past, the chaos divine Earth's voice had always been full of energy. However, this time, it seemed to be very weak. Moreover, the more it spoke, the softer its voice became. Cultivate well and improve your strength as soon as possible. Although the Chaos Divine Flame has fallen into a deep slumber, you can still use it to refine celestial pills. You can try to understand and visualize the Chaos Divine Flame when you use it. That way, it'll be easier for you to comprehend the profundities from the law of fire than if you were to comprehend them on your own. Of course, although the effect is not bad, it's not as good as the Chaos Divine Flame's guidance. However, if you want to receive guidance from the Chaos Divine Flame again, I'm afraid you'll have to wait until it wakes up. The Chaos Divine Earth's voice became softer and softer before it stopped abruptly. It seems like I'll have to rely on myself for the time being. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Duan Lingtian. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to collect the loot left behind by the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang, an anxious voice rang from outside the valley. Based on the voice, it was clear the voice was still some distance away. Sect leader? By the time Duan Lingtian regained his senses and recognized the owner of the voice, a figure had already appeared in the valley like a ghost. The figure belonged to a middle-aged man with a medium build who was dressed in a shabby robe. It was none other than Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. Duanling, you're seriously injured? Sun Liangpeng muttered to himself. His expression changed slightly when he saw Duan Lingtian's injuries. Then he asked instinctively, "Where's the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang?" "Over there." Duan Lingtian replied in a low voice as he looked at the corpse of the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang who had been smashed into a pulp on the ground. At the same time, he struggled to descend to the ground and made his way to the corpse of the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. Sun Liangpeng was stunned when he saw the corpse of the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. This is the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang? He was killed by Duan Lingtian? By the time Sun Liangpeng regained his senses, Duan Lingtian had already taken the assassin's spatial ring and the defensive celestial weapon from the assassin. This is my first time seeing a king-grade celestial weapon like this. Although this king-grade celestial weapon isn't popular, it's extremely powerful in the hands of someone who has comprehended the law of metal and the law of wind. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself as he looked at the silk thread in the assassin's hand. Earlier, when the assassin from the Blood Skull gang made his move, the silk thread seemed to be able to cut the void in its wake. While Duan Lingtian was putting the silk thread in the assassin's spatial ring, Sun Liangpeng appeared next to Duan Lingtian in just a blink of an eye. Duan Lingtian, what's the cultivation base of this assassin? Sun Liangpeng asked curiously as he looked at Duan Lingtian. A6 Combos Celestial King. Chapter 3066. A6 Combos Celestial King? Sun Liangpeng's expression changed drastically when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. A 6 Combos Celestial King from the Blood Skull gang was not an ordinary 6 Combos Celestial King. He had comprehended more profundities from the same law than most 6 Combos Celestial Kings in the profound Nether Mansion. That assassin is a 6 Combos Celestial King? Sun Liangpeng's expression changed drastically when a voice rang from outside the valley. Following that, a huge figure appeared and blocked the sky above the valley. Duan Lingtian looked over and saw a green bird that resembled an eagle. When he looked over, the green bird had already transformed into a green-clad young man. In just a blink of an eye, the green-clad young man appeared next to him and Sun Liangpeng. Duan Lingtian, this is my second brother, Qing Hong. Sun Liangpeng introduced the green-clad young man to Duan Lingtian. Although Qing Hong had been following Duan Lingtian ever since he left the Simplicity Celestial Sex estate, they had never met before. This was their first time meeting. Thank you for protecting me, Senior Qing Hong. Duan Lingtian had already guessed the green-clad young man's identity when he saw the green-clad young man. Now that Sun Liangpeng had introduced the green-clad young man to him, he hastily bowed and thanked the green-clad young man. I didn't expect him to lure you into activating the teleportation formation. I was careless. Fortunately, you're fine. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to explain myself to my elder brother. Qing Hong said indifferently. He did not know Duan Lingtian at all. He had only protected Duan Lingtian because his elder brother, Sun Liangpeng, had asked him to do so. Otherwise, what did Duan Lingtian's life have to do with him? Duan Lingtian was well aware of this. Therefore, after thanking Qing Hong, he shifted his gaze away from Qing Hong. This assassin from the Blood Skull gang must have comprehended the law of wind, right? Qing Hong asked Duan Lingtian as he scanned the ravaged canyon. He was also an expert in the law of wind, so he had a deep understanding of the law of wind. It wasn't hard for him to tell that the Blood Skull gang's assassin had used the law of wind. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. A6 Combos Celestial King from the Blood Skull gang has comprehended the law of wind. Including the wind elemental profundity, he should have comprehended at least 5 profundities from the law of wind. Sun Liangpeng guessed. Based on his knowledge, 6 Combos Celestial Kings from top assassin organizations in the Southern Heaven Territory like the Blood Skull gang had comprehended 5 profundities from the same law. 5. Hearing Sun Liangpeng's words, Duan Lingtian smiled bitterly in his heart, the corners of his mouth twitching slightly. Sun Liangpeng had underestimated the blood skeleton he had just killed. Including the wind elemental profundity, the Blood Skull gang's assassin had comprehended 6 profundities from the law of wind. It's not just 5. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to say that the assassin had comprehended 6 profundities from the law of wind, Qing Hong's voice rang in the air again. Based on the battle between Duan Lingtian and the assassin, including the wind elemental profundity, the assassin has comprehended at least 6 profundities from the law of wind. Qing Hong said. Upon hearing Qing Hong's words, Duan Lingtian could not help but look at Qing Hong again. After all, Qing Hong was right. Duan Lingtian felt goosebumps all over his body when he saw the confident expression on Qing Hong's face. Qing Hong did not see the battle between Duan Lingtian and the Blood Skull gang's assassin, but he could easily guess how many profundities the assassin had comprehended from the law of wind. "Second brother, are you sure?" Sun Liangpeng was shocked when he heard Qing Hong's words. Even in an assassin organization like the Blood Skull Gang, it's rare for a 6-combo celestial king to comprehend 6 profundities from a law of wind. "I'm sure." Qing Hong's eyes swept across the ravines again as he said, "Big brother, look at the marks left behind by the battle. Those are the marks left behind by the law of wind's wind blade profundity. Those are the marks left behind by the law of wind's slicing profundity. These profundities from the law of wind are so destructive in the hands of a 6-combo celestial king, including the offensive king-grade celestial weapon that was nurtured by a celestial lord. He must have comprehended the law of wind's wind-gathering profundity." After listing out the 4 profundities from the law of wind, Qing Hong finally revealed the 5th profundity from the law of wind, the wind-gathering profundity. After Qing Hong finished speaking, he looked at Duan Lingtian meaningfully and asked, "Am I right?" "That's right." Duan Lingtian nodded. Although he tried his best to remain calm, his heart was in turmoil. Sun Liangpeng inhaled sharply before he looked at Duan Lingen and asked, "A 6-combo celestial king who has comprehended 6 profundities from the law of wind. Duan Lingen, although you're a 10-direction celestial king due to your consumable king-grade celestial weapon, you've only comprehended 2 profundities from the law of earth, right? How did you kill him?" Sun Liangpeng asked curiously. It would be easy for a 6-combo celestial king who had comprehended 6 profundities from the law of wind to kill a 10-direction celestial king who had only comprehended 2 profundities from the law of wind. The difference in 4 profundities from the law of wind was much greater than the difference in cultivation bases of celestial kings. If a 10-direction celestial king wanted to fight a 6-combo celestial king who had comprehended 6 profundities from the law of wind, he would have to comprehend at least 4 profundities from a law of wind. Duan Lingtian, on the other hand, had only comprehended 2 profundities from the law of earth. Even if he was a 10-direction celestial king, he was not a match for the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang. Perhaps, Duan Lingtian might be able to use soul attacks, but he could also use soul profundities to attack. Even if he used soul attacks, Duan Lingtian, who had only comprehended 2 profundities from the law of earth, would not be a match for the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang who had comprehended 6 profundities from the law of wind. Sect leader, Duan Lingtian, who had been prepared for Sun Liangpeng's question, replied apologetically, "To be honest, I'm not an expert in the law of earth. The law of earth is only the 2nd law I comprehended after I comprehended the law of fire. I've comprehended 4 profundities from the law of fire. In terms of strength, we were evenly matched. However, I had to use all my strength to kill him. I even burned all the energy from my consumable royal-grade celestial weapon to kill him. However, although I killed him, I also suffered heavy injuries. With my current injuries, even if I had healing pills, I would still need to recuperate for at least 2 to 3 months to fully recover." When Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he let out a long sigh. Duan Lingtian had only comprehended 4 profundities from the law of fire. This was an excuse that Duan Lingtian had prepared beforehand. Since he was able to kill a 6-combo celestial king from the Blood Skull Gang, he needed an explanation. What would Sun Liangpeng think if he found out that Duan Lingtian had only comprehended 2 profundities from the law of fire? As the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, it was not difficult for Sun Liangpeng to assume that Duan Lingtian had something else to rely on. A royal-grade celestial weapon? Or did he use his consumable royal-grade celestial weapon again? After witnessing the strength of the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang, Duan Lingtian had thought about using his consumable royal-grade celestial weapon again. If he used his consumable royal-grade celestial weapon again, his celestial origin energy and soul energy would be comparable to an ordinary celestial lord. At that time, even if he could not kill the assassin from the Blood Skull Gang, it would not be difficult for him to escape unscathed. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, apart from Qing Hong who looked at Duan Lingtian, Sun Liangpeng was stunned. It took a long time for him to regain his senses. In fact, when Qing Hong was inspecting the traces of the battle in the canyon, He had also been inspecting the traces of the battle. He did not find any traces of the law of earth in the traces of the great battle, only traces of the law of fire. This was because he had always been an expert in the law of fire. At that time he thought to himself, is this possible? Is it possible that Duan Lingtian is not an expert in the law of earth but the law of fire? If that was the case, it made sense why Duan Lingtian had chosen the king-grade celestial method and divine ability that contained the law of fire instead of the law of earth when he went to the top floor. After a while, Sun Liangping regained his senses. He looked at Duan Lingtian and sighed emotionally. Duan Lingtian, you're the most monstrous genius I've ever seen. Let alone in the history of the profound Nether Mansion, even in the history of the Southern Heaven Territory, I've never heard of anyone who was a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial and comprehended 4 profundities from a law before the age of 100. Sun Liangpeng's eyes lit up as he looked at Duan Lingtian. Not even 100 years old? Upon hearing Sun Liangpeng's words, Qing Hong shifted his gaze to Duan Lingtian again. A hint of shock could be seen on his face. He knew his elder brother valued Duan Lingtian a lot. Otherwise, his elder brother would not have asked him to go to the Thousand Nations territory to fetch Duan Lingtian's servant and protect Duan Lingtian. However, he was unaware that Duan Lingtian was not even 100 years old. That's true. If he's not so monstrous, why would my elder brother value him so much? Thinking of this, Qing Hong was relieved. So what if he's a genius? He can't even protect the people around him. Duan Lingtian quietly walked up to Lu Guanglin's body and personally closed it up before he buried Lu Guanglin. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's eyes were bloodshot. He could not help but feel regretful as he thought to himself, perhaps, if I had allowed Guanglin to stay in the supporting Fall Nation, this wouldn't have happened. Meanwhile, Chapter 3067. Gu Yunzhong was a name that didn't have much of a presence in the entire Blood Skull Gang. However, among the 6 combos celestial kings in the Blood Skull Gang, Gu Yunzhong's name was well known. Among the 6 combos celestial kings in the Blood Skull Gang, only 3 of them had comprehended 6 profundities from a law. Due to this reason, Gu Yunzhong could be said to be the trump card of the Blood Skull Gang's 6 combos celestial kings. Someone has died. It's Gu Yunzhong. As the news of Gu Yunzhong's death spread throughout the branch of the Blood Skull Gang, it caused a great commotion. Gu Yunzhong is dead? It seemed like he had been sent to the Great 6 profound Nether Mansion's territory. Could it be that he died there? It seems like he was sent there for a mission that a one basic celestial king in the Blood Skull Gang had accepted. The target was a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial. However, the one basic celestial king assassin in the group died. It's not surprising that a one basic celestial king was killed, but even someone as strong as Gu Yunzhong was killed? It seems like the peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial was protected by a 7 stars celestial king. That's right. Gu Yunzhong is a 6 combos celestial king who has comprehended 6 profundities from the law of wind. With his strength, it's almost impossible for a 6 combos celestial king in the profound Nether Mansion to be a match for him. The person who killed him must be a 7 stars celestial king or stronger. A commotion broke out in the Blood Skull Gang's branch where Gu Yunzhong was. Then, one of the high-ranking officials sent a message to the Blood Skull Gang's headquarters to express his dissatisfaction. The mission sounded simple, but it was much more difficult than he had imagined. Now, even Gu Yunzhong had died. Did the 6 combos celestial king assassin in your branch send a message back before he died? Did he say who killed him? The high-ranking official in the branch where Gu Yunzhong was from received a message from the headquarters. He must have been killed by a sneak attack. Or perhaps, he was killed when he was caught off guard, so he didn't even have time to send a message back. The branch higher-ups guessed. Headquarters is already aware of this matter. Headquarters will follow up on this mission in the future. There's no need for your branch to follow up. The message from the headquarters ended here, and the higher-ups of the branch heaved a sigh of relief. We finally got rid of a strange burden. Unfortunately, we lost Gu Yunzhong. If I knew the target in the profound Nether Mansion's territory would be so difficult to deal with, I would have rejected this mission. Gu Yunzhong is the trump card of our branch's 6 combos Celestial King Realm Assassins, but he died in the hands of the profound Nether Mansion. The higher-ups of the branch murmured. Their expressions darkened as they spoke. In the Southern Heaven territory, a young man in embroidered robes was sitting in a pavilion in the front courtyard of a luxurious mansion in a vast city. He was quietly enjoying the fragrant tea in his hand. Suddenly, the young man in embroidered clothes received a message. The moment he finished reading the message, the young man's expression changed. What? A6 Combos Celestial King who had comprehended 6 profundities from the Law of Wind died in the hands of the profound Nether Mansion. The young man was none other than Qin Li. Qin Li was the illegitimate son of one of the vice leaders of the Blood Skull Gang. He was also the vice leader's only son. Because of this, he had been highly valued and doted on by the vice commander of the Blood Skull Gang. As a result, his status in the Blood Skull Gang was very high. The person who sent the voice transmission to Qin Li was one of the people in charge of the Blood Skull Gang's headquarters. He was also the right-hand man of Qin Li's father. Young Master Li, who sent you the mission to kill a peak overarching Heavenly Supreme Celestial? In order to kill a peak overarching Heavenly Supreme Celestial, the Blood Skull Gang has lost a 1 basic Celestial King and a 6 combos Celestial King. Moreover, the 6 combos Celestial King who died recently was no ordinary 6 combos Celestial King. He had comprehended 6 profundities from the Law of Wind, and he was one of the strongest 6 combos Celestial Kings in the Blood Skull Gang. His death has already caused young Master Li's mission to attract the attention of many people. I'm afraid this matter will spread even more quickly. At that time, I'm afraid there will be a lot of people on the side of the other 2 deputy chiefs who have grudges with the deputy chief. They will take the opportunity to cause trouble and put the blame on you, young Master Li. After all, this mission was given by you. The message from a person in charge of the Blood Skull Gang's headquarters didn't continue for the time being. So what if I'm the one who issued the mission? I'm only responsible for guaranteeing the mission. The responsibility of guaranteeing the mission depends on whether the person who issued the mission is able to afford the mission and whether the person who issued the mission will not betray the Blood Skull Gang. Qin Li replied in a timely manner. As for how difficult the mission is, that's the responsibility of the intelligence department, right? Although I vouch for people to place orders and issue missions, whether the mission is approved or not, and even the mission rating seems to be determined by the information obtained by the intelligence department, right? In the history of the Blood Skull Gang, similar incidents have happened before. However, when did the guarantor have to bear the responsibility? When he reached the end of his sentence, Qin Li's voice was filled with a cold sneer. Young Master Li, even if that's the case, you should know that those people won't hesitate to create trouble for Lord Vice Leader. Moreover, you're not an ordinary guarantor. You should know that if it weren't for your relationship with Lord Vice Leader, it would be impossible for you to act as a guarantor in the Blood Skull Gang. Therefore, they'll definitely seize this opportunity to make trouble for Lord Vice Leader. If word of this reaches Lord Vice Leader's ears, I'm afraid even Lord Vice Leader will be reprimanded. In fact, it might even affect Lord Vice Leader's chances of succeeding Lord Vice Leader's position in the future. After all, the other 2 Vice Leaders are also eyeing Lord Vice Leader's position covetously. The person in charge of the Blood Skull Gang's headquarters continued to speak. That's enough. I'll discuss this matter with my father and see how we can resolve this matter. Qin Li's last message to the person in charge of the Blood Skull Gang's headquarters was slightly irritated. He was puzzled as to how he had gotten himself involved in this matter. Zheng Hongyi, the disciple of the Simplicity Celestial sect in the profound Nether Mansion's territory, deserves to die. Of all the people you could kill, you just had to kill that Duan Ling Tian. It's so tiring that I'm feeling quite pressured in the organization. Qin Li's expression was unsightly as he muttered to himself. Although what he had just said had precedence in the Blood Skull Gang, it was true that they wouldn't blame the guarantor for this kind of situation. However, as the person in charge of the Blood Skull Gang's headquarters had said, It was only natural for the guarantor to become a guarantor. That was only true for ordinary guarantors. Due to Chen Li's identity and strength, he was not qualified to be a guarantor. For this reason, it was only natural that his father's subordinate would find fault with him. Zheng Hongyi. Thinking of the culprit behind this matter, Chen Li immediately suppressed his anger and directly sent a message to Zheng Hongyi, scolding him. According to the rules of the Blood Skull Gang, even if a 10 Directions Celestial King died, the mission to kill Duan Lingtian would not end in vain, let alone a 6 combos Celestial King. Therefore, the mission had to continue. However, the next time, the Blood Skull Gang would not send a mere 6 combos Celestial King to kill Duan Lingtian. Naturally, the Blood Skull Gang would not act rashly next time. They would only send their assassins to the profound Nether Mansion after confirming the information. After all, the information they had on Duan Lingtian in the past was no longer applicable to the current Duan Lingtian. HM? He didn't reply? After waiting for a long time, Chen Li still did not get a response from Zheng Hongyi. Immediately, his face turned gloomy, and his eyes emitted waves of cold light that was filled with killing intent. Chen Li was unaware that Zheng Hongyi was currently facing a life-or-death situation. If he made a wrong move, he would be doomed. In the profound Nether Mansion's territory, in the residence of Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect, a figure was kneeling in the front yard. However, he stubbornly raised his head and growled, "Duanling, why are you slandering me? Just because I didn't treat you well when you first arrived?" The person who was kneeling on the ground glared at the purple-clad young man who was standing in front of him. His eyes were filled with indignation. At this moment, the two people standing in front of the person who was kneeling were none other than Duan Lingtian and Sun Liangpeng, the sect leader of the Simplicity Celestial Sect. After burying Lu Guanglin, Duan Lingtian had asked Sun Liangpeng to avenge Lu Guanglin. Before Lu Guanglin's death, he had told Sun Liangpeng who had taken him out of the Simplicity Celestial Sect and delivered him to the Blood Skull Gang. Although Sun Liangpeng had speculated that someone from the Simplicity Celestial Sect had taken Lu Guanglin away and delivered him to the Blood Skull Gang, he did not expect Lu Guanglin to die. However, he did not expect his direct disciple, Zheng Hongyi, to be the culprit. After Sun Liangpeng and Duan Lingtian returned from the valley, Sun Liangpeng brought Duan Lingtian to his residence and called Zheng Hongyi over. However, Zheng Hongyi refused to admit it. "Duan Lingtian, a person should have a conscience. Although I'm jealous of you for becoming a true disciple, I've never thought of killing you. Moreover, you said I made an order with the Blood Skull Gang? Everyone knows that one needs a guarantor to make an order with the Blood Skull Gang. Do you think, with my ability, I'll be able to find someone who can vouch for me in the Blood Skull Gang?" You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.